Race fans, the 100% Cup Series welcomes you to Atlanta 3.0 for the Soda Wars 400. I'm Andre Grambush, joined alongside Corey Silva, and of course, producer Carlos Costa pushing the buttons to bring all the action to your TV and computers. We got some weather conditions and race conditions up on the screen if you so care to look at them, but Corey, this has been a race that has been pretty anticipated by the drivers. Soda Wars. Now, Carlos, with that in my head. The Soda Wars race is always pretty popular. We get a lot of soda-themed paint schemes on track, so we'll be kind of pointing those out all night. That's not the only story. We're going to be having a new style of racing here, Corey. It's going to be something akin to Daytona or Talladega. The Atlanta repave has finally been put in the iRacing service, and it's going to be our first foray into it.
Yeah, Andre, great to be here, first of all. And of course, over the course of pretty much every league I've talked to, there's been a debate of, do we bother running this new configuration? Because everyone loved the old version of Atlanta, how bumpy and abrasive, multi-groove it is, and took a lot of skill. And, well, this is going to take skill, but again, as you said, it's a different form of skill, which, you may love or you may not. But either way, we find ourselves here where, we're going to be drafting, we're going to be using all these different lanes. Handling may come in a tiny bit, potentially, but at the very least, we get to look at some cool schemes.
Absolutely, and I know that one driver in particular, Cody Bird, he was actually really excited about this race. He ran Division 2 on Friday, had a pretty good run, and I think he was getting a good feel for the track. I think this is one that a lot of these guys have been practicing for, which is kind of funny, Corey, because usually you come to Talladega, Daytona, these guys don't really put in that much practice because we know those tracks. We know exactly how they race. Practice isn't really going to help you a whole lot, but with this track being as new as it is, there was a lot to figure out. How is this new surface going to react to the tires, and what's the tire wear ratio going to be like? What's it going to be like getting down to pit road? And most importantly, what's it going to be like when you're coming through the trial and you've got a track that's 10 car lengths wide, and then you get into a corner that's about half as wide? And it's going to be a challenge from many angles, and these guys had a lot to figure out over the week.
Yeah, most certainly. I think with the nature of being in a league is a little bit more respected on the iRacing official side. I don't think we'll have 5 wide, 7 wide bonsais on the apron, but time will tell over the course of the evening. But definitely some challenges here, Andre. I don't think we're going to see 3x3. I'm just looking at practice here, and if you look up against the wall here at Atlanta is not very symmetric. So that third lane will, you'll have space, it goes away, the wall kind of moves up and down. So I do think it's going to be very difficult to run 3 wide, but I do think we're going to see a lot of 2x2. I think we're going to see a lot of single file and just killing some lap times and just being patient throughout the stages. So all will be interesting to watch here as we're currently 3 wide as I say that on our practice right here, but a lot to look forward to over the evening.
Yeah, the practice has been a lot of fun to watch because I think these guys have been a little bit more bold in practice than they're probably going to be in the race. They're really just testing the limits and seeing, well, how much can I push somebody or how much can I be pushed? And I've even seen some bump drafting in the corners, which is generally frowned upon at these white tracks. But in practice, when you're just getting a feel for it, go for it, see what you can do. And honestly, the practice has been a lot cleaner than I was expecting. I was kind of expecting to see some wipeouts, some takeouts maybe, but no, these guys have been keeping it pretty clean. One thing I have noticed is it looks like being on the outside is not the place to be, at least what I've seen in practice. Everybody wants to be down on that red and white line, and if you do get a run up top, you just got to be really careful where you take it. We got a few cars making their way down pit road, just getting used to the entry. Looks like Patrick Bush going to lock up the tires there, right behind Chad Edwards, and only about a minute left of practice before we get to our grid, and you can see a lot of these soda-themed paint schemes. There goes a Barks car. We got 2 Coca-Cola cars right there, 1 cherry, 1 standard. And notice those Coca-Cola cars actually have the properly scaled logo on the hood. Take note, Denny Hamlin.
Oh, shots fired. But that is our turnaround time there, Andre. And session warm-up has ended. So I think we're about to go trackside and get ourselves underway here at Atlanta for the Soda Wars 400.
Yes, sir. The cars are gridding up. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at our starting order. Again, in this league, we qualify all throughout the week, so we don't have to do it in the race session. And according to the starting grid that I have been provided, looks like Dustin Hall is going to be on the pole in that number 1 machine alongside Kyle Ammon in the number 5. Row 2 is going to be Robert Anderson and Adam Benefiel. Behind them, you got Ralph Hutchison and Blake Giglio. 7 and 8 is going to go to Michael Christopher and Chris Quad. Matt White and Sean O'Brien Jr. are going to round out your top 10.
And then we have Sammy Bury going off in 11th. Dave Fuge Jr. in the 12th spot. In 13th, we find Nolan Hodgson, Wayne Grassy in 14th. We have Tracy, insert first name here, in 15th. Cameron Stone in 16th. Rob Tracy. Bryson Alexander in 17th. Randy Drumhiller in the 44. He'll roll off 18th, 19th, and 20th. Devin Medeiros and Brandon Pierce. Sorry, I'm a little rusty with these guys.
Looking just outside the top 20, we have Tanner Marty and Josh Ward. Patrick Muchet, Kevin Steele, 23 and 24. Look at that, the number 24 starting P24. Chad Sanner and Jeremy Miller are going to be 25 and 26. Behind them, you got Jeffrey Souza and Alexander Vandesant. Cody Bird and Jeff Hooper can round out your top 30. And just to get through the rest of the field here, Neil Pearson, Raymond Root, J.C. Gibson, Jason Taylor, Dalton Mobley, Alex Brinson, Bryson Hicksonbot did not post a lap. And behind him, a few more drivers that didn't post laps: Preston McRae, Damaris Hickenbottom, and Chad Edwards. The latter two taking a provisional for the week. So they will be starting at the tail end, and looks like they are rolling. We're going to have just a quick pacing session before we get back underway. And again, you can see there's a lot of runoff on that back straightaway, but I'm going to tentatively say that going beneath that red and white line for the purposes of overtaking is going to be frowned upon. Possibly something you could catch a penalty for, although I'm not 100% certain. We will be using the new iRacing restart zone as well, as our producer is putting out a little bit of smoke maybe in the back of the field there. We are rounding 3 and 4. Pace car is about to make that hard left turn. We're getting out to the very wide trioval. The trioval, I believe, is the one place where going beneath the line will be legal if we're following real-life rules. Dustin Hall leading the way. He is going to make the decision as to when he drives. There he goes in the restart zone, right at the end of the restart zone, waiting till the last possible second. That's going to give Robert Anderson a good run right behind him as he's going to push him into turn 1. On the outside, Kyle Ammon kind of sleeping on that restart. He's going to drop back to third, now slotting into place right in front of Michael Christopher and Ralph Hutchison.
Yeah, our green flag under is actually dictated by Barney the Flagman. I think that's why he went a little bit delayed there, but definitely kind of wadded the field up just a little bit there. And then here we come single file, already our top 7-8 positions. Single file, as I kind of said in pre-race, I think patience is going to be the virtue here at Atlanta. We have, 260 laps on the table here of plate style racing, and clearly patience is already coming across most of these drivers.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to wreck out early. This is a long race. We got 260 laps of racing. Stage 1 is going to come at lap 60, so these guys are not going to have to pit in stage 1, as our fuel run will be about 63 to 65 laps. So as far as stage 1, they can make it to the end. They just want to keep it clear and green. We do have Adam Benefield parachuting to the back of the field, quite intentionally, it would seem. Just doesn't want to be up in the mix of it, and you see this a lot in plate races. Really, there's only 2 safe places to be. That's the very front of the field leading the race, or the very back behind everybody. If you're next to another car, you're kind of at an inherent risk of the big one striking, and we may see that happen later tonight, as we do have some 2 and 3 wide action towards the tail end of the field here. My kind of concern for Adam Benefield here is that he really fell back. When he went to the back of the field, he lost a ton of time, and I'm thinking he may have lost the draft.
Yeah, if you're watching this live, of course, you may have seen the NASCAR Xfinity race here today, and that actually was kind of the name of the game, Andre, is drivers did lose the draft, and akin to your plate races, as we have our 3-wide multicam up, akin to your natural plate races in real life at Daytona and Talladega. You lose that 1 second buffer, you're going to drop 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds back, and at that point you're praying for a caution or trying to really get some teamwork working with the guys that you are working with here. So looks like we do have a couple different packs already up front. Trying to look and see, it looks like about 15, I'm going to go as far even say 20 guys in that lead pack. But with Benefield, he's actually in 30th. He's actually leading that second pack. So 29 guys in the first pack. 30th on back is isolated from the field.
Yes, they've lost the draft already. Luckily for them, we do have some stages to kind of bunch this field back up, presuming they stay on the lead lap. They're just going to have to make sure that they can get in the draft with each other, and that's kind of what you're going to see a lot Some of these drivers are gonna have to find themselves working with one another just to stay with the draft, just to stay with these guys. Because if they want to be lone wolves and go out there and say, "Well, we lost the draft, but I'm going to try to put down some laps," no, that's not always going to work. Sometimes you've got to slow yourself down and back yourself up to a car that's behind you, because two cars is always going to be faster than one. So as long as they stay on the lead lap, they should be fine. Stage one, like we said, lap 60. Stage two is considerably longer, coming at lap 160. So that'll be about 100 lap stage two, meaning they will have to pit, assuming it stays green. So that's just something to look forward to here. But up towards the front of the field, very single file. Kyle Ammon is the very bottom of the podium in third. You've got Anderson in that number 81, and Dustin Hall still leading the way in a sponsor that was suggested by the producer, Carlos. That is one of Carlos's favorite sodas. And he asked if somebody in the field would run a car sponsored by, I believe it's pronounced Inca Cola. I could be wrong. And Dustin stepped up to the plate. He said, "Sure, I'll run it." And I got to say, that is one fine-looking scheme.
Now, I'm wondering if he's actually. I'm wondering if he actually got a pack sent to him as a, as a recourse for that. But going to our YouTube chat as well, we do have someone asking if there's a Pepsi Max car. I do see a Pepsi car in the field. I've yet to see the Max variant of that, so apologies if that is a slight disappointment for you. But akin to what you were talking about, Andre, with the single file brigade, obviously we've seen these drivers do a lot of practice throughout the week, probably in the official races as well. But do you kind of want to get a little bit racy just to kind of figure out the guys around you, what their setups can do, who the guys around you are capable of doing with the draft? Do you kind of want to learn a little bit, even if not being a little too aggressive at this point in the race?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be too aggressive, but it may be worth it just to try to make a pass here and there, just to see what it's like, to see how the bottom lane is, if you can get up underneath somebody, or maybe even to see if you can get a run on the high side. I talk about it a lot when we go to plate tracks, but sometimes being committed to the lane that nobody else is in is kind of a way of sending a signal to everybody else that, hey, if you got nothing to lose and you want to try to make a move, well, you know I'm dedicated to this top side. You know I'm not going to hang you out to dry. So we might see some drivers migrate around and maybe try to get some experience under the belt, just making different moves so that they can use that experience later on. But a lot of these guys, I think they're comfortable. I think the single file is going to be the way to go, at least in stage one. Stage two, maybe things get a little bit crazier. But right now, these guys are right where they want to be. We got a big field tonight. We're expecting to see some attrition. And the longer these guys can stay in the race and have a chance at it, the better.
Exactly that. And I think we were told in pre-race that our fuel load is in excess of 60 laps. So if this does go green in stage one, no need to hit pit road, and we will probably see a little bit of spice up going on, probably about lap 50 or so, as these guys try to get their critical stage points, as this is race number 18 on our schedule. Maybe we can get to a little points conversation in a little bit. So we only have about 9 races left after today before we dictate our playoff lineup. So if you are on the cutoff line or just need a couple playoff points for your seeding, you want to take advantage of that as they become available. But again, just talking about on-track racing, Andre, not really too much to discuss now. There may be a slight breakage in the pack forming around the 12th position or so. I'm seeing Bryson Alexander in that Pepsi Ford Mustang. Pepsi and a Mustang just don't go together. Pepsi has to be on a Chevy. But there is a little bit of a breakup and then some double file action going on there that may allow the top 10 or so to break off from the rest of the pack.
And that's exactly what they want. The smaller the pack you're in, the less of a chance of a wreck. And again, these guys just want to be in it. That's the biggest fear whenever you come to one of these tracks, is that at any given moment, you could be taken out of this race by something that's completely out of your control. And of course, that's something you think about every single time you get on the track, but it's just exaggerated big time here at these plate tracks. So
I got one for you here, Andre. So we got two right now. I'm looking at 11th and 12th. We got Cam Stone at 11th. I don't know if we can get that on camera. We got Cam Stone at 11th and the Coke Zero, Coke Vanilla, something on those lines Mustang. And then we have a Pepsi Mustang. Now they're manufacturer buddies, but they're rival sodas. How does this work out?
Well, it is the Soda Wars, as our producer points out.
But they're the same manufacturer, so there's like a built-in alliance with a rival. Like, how does this exist? My brain is confused here.
I'm thinking there was probably some contractual loopholes, perhaps.
So right now, and then we saw a Sprite car. Sprite will also be in, natural companion with the Coke car. So that Pepsi car is in a ideal sandwich there. And looking back there, oh, there's Mountain Dew. I think that's Mountain Dew just behind him. That's Madeiros. I can't quite tell, but I think it's some kind of Mountain Dew. So that's
Right.
where all the action is right now. Later in the top 10, maybe these guys are trying to fight for the top 10 to get their stage points. You see the 30 machine of Jeremy Miller. He's in the fence right there through turn 3 and 4. A lot of guys are going to get to his inside. We'll see how the damage plays out. Again, this new next-gen damage model. Well, sometimes it's forgiving, sometimes it's a tank. We'll see how it fares for him.
And that is one thing that we have to think about. I know that I was kind of listening in to some of the setup chatter from some of my buddies that were getting ready for this race, and Bryson Hicksonbaugh had mentioned at one point in one of the discords that the setup he was working on at the time got really tight on the long run. Now, I believe he and his team actually corrected that issue, and they made it so that the car stayed free and rotated well even in the long run. But some of these other drivers, like Jeremy Miller, maybe their setup isn't quite as honed in. It is possible to get tight at this track, so they're going to have to be careful. Watch that speedometer going into the corner. Almost shades of old Daytona and Talladega before the restrictor plate, where you couldn't necessarily full throttle those tracks. Once the tires start to wear, if you don't have an ideal setup, you may find yourself having to lift.
Yeah, we saw many races of Dale Jr.'s prime at Daytona, where there was just 2-3 cars at a time working together, because that's where the handling was at old Daytona. And be interesting to see what this track does in 5-10 years time, but of course we'll have to wait a significant amount of time for that. We do have a poll. If you're watching live, you can choose whether you're a Coke or a Pepsi person. I know what I will be voting, as I've already dictated my preference there, but just kind of scootering back to other things going on track. Not too much going on up front, but that pack with the Coke and Pepsi and multiple sodas is definitely pretty spicy there. So top 10 wants to race, well, wants to stay single file, 10 through 20th, they want to race.
Absolutely. We've also got Alex Murray in the chat saying, hey, our setup's good. We'll be there at the end. So sounds like Alex Murray's team maybe getting their setup tuned in, not dealing with any tight race cars there. So just interesting. I really didn't think the setup was going to be quite a big deal here at Atlanta, but from everything I've heard, it can kind of make or break your car. So fun to see. But we do have a car down pit road. This is interesting. It's a Adam
Benefield,
the number 83 Sundrop machine. This is, I would assume, an unscheduled pit stop. We're only 20 laps in, and I don't think I see any
nope,
damage on that.
he did have a little spin. I'm just going a little bit further back on replay. He had a self spin through turns 1 and 2. Maybe we can get that queued up on replay. Really no harm, no foul. Just kind of skidded to the inside of the track. Carlos is working on a replay. We'll have that up shortly, but yeah, self spin absolutely by himself on the track. So I just wanted to split the run and get some freshies on.
Well, that's really interesting. We've been talking about cars getting tight, but we haven't really considered any self spins.
You have some battling going on up front. Sorry to cut you off, Andre. We finally have some spice going on there. Kyle Ammon and the Kyle Petty-esque mellow yellow ride. He's getting spicy underneath the number 81. I'm trying to make out who that is. That Kodak ride on the top of the track. Is that Hutchison up there?
We've got Hutchison up top. We've got the number 48 also just behind him. So it's a 2x2 battle for the lead here. Number 1 wants to maintain this lead. Obviously, he's got the cars behind him. He's got some draft help. But I'll tell you what, that high line's really working. It looks like Ralph is going to surge the lead. Question is, can he get far up enough to throw the block? We do have the replay finally. What happened to Adam Benefield is coming through turns 1 and 2, entering in the middle of the corner. Now, he's fishtailing already. And then as he gets through the center of the corner, just gets a little bit sideways. But we got a caution on the raceway. Not entirely certain as the cause. We'll identify it momentarily. That could be disaster for Adam Benefield, depending on where he was when that caution came out.
Look at my back-end telemetry as well. I don't really have anything obvious to state. Oh, there we do on screen right now. 14 goes around.
Ooh.
And, big hit by Randy Drumhiller.
Yeah, Dave Fugue went around, and then Randy Drumhiller just wasn't quite able to react in time. And you're going to see that a lot at these types of tracks where something happens and there's just not a whole lot you can do. You're going so fast all the time. And the number 14 did his best. He was on the brakes and had it locked up, but the momentum was not on his side. It just carried him right back up to the racing surface, and Drumhiller was not expecting that. So we'll take another angle of it there. You can see Kevin Steele narrowly splitting the middle there, and looks like Bryson Hickson-Boss sandwiched in that slurm machine. He's got damage on both sides from that. Let's see if we can get a better look at what happened to Bryson in all of this. This is on board with Drumhiller as he's coming out of turn 4, smoke in front of him. He thinks that it's going down low, but then just right back on top. And what a hard impact. 14 getting up off the ground
Oof.
from that. Now watch the 63 right underneath the replay logo. He's going to come alongside Patrick Muchet right here. Just gets caught up into it. Has to kind of battering ram his way through both of them, and that damage is going to be costly here. Corey, this is one of those tracks where aero is important. You want to get the best top speed possible, and the more beat up that car is, the slower you're going to be. And that possibly could have been engine damage as well, as we got the 54 sliding past his stall.
I'm going to caveat, 4 drivers have stayed out according to our producer, but I'm going to caveat a little bit of what you said, Andre, because remember, where this is akin to being a plate race, if you have the engine running at full song and your car is modestly repaired, the draft is actually the best band-aid of all. So if you lose the draft, you're completely out to lunch. But if you can run even 80% pace, the draft can usually keep you in that extra 20%. So if they can get enough repairs, they may be okay if the engine's all right.
Yeah, it's always been a little bit wonky on iRacing. Sometimes you take a massive hit and the car is still in good standing, and the draft kind of helps you limp around and stay at pace. And then other times you just barely scrape the wall and you feel like the car is fine, but you just can't even hold on to the draft. You just keep slipping back. So we'll have to see exactly what Bryson's car is like. I know he was one of the drivers not particularly looking forward to this race, not a fan of the repave, which is kind of funny considering his teammate Cody Bird was very excited about this race. So that was probably an interesting team meeting and team practice session. But Kyle Ammon will be our race leader, as we have just a handful of drivers who did stay out, and Kyle Ammon was among them. Cameron Stone, RJ Root, Jeffrey Souza. So 3 out of the 4 drivers who decided to stay out, I believe, are in some way affiliated with SBR. And then you've just got Kyle Ammon, the lone wolf up there, saying, you know what? My tires feel fine. Car feels fine. I don't need to pit. So now we've got some differing strategies. Kind of interesting. There is a tire limit in this race. According to the announcements page, the tire limit is 8, which usually when they post 8, that means 1 on the car, 7 behind the wall. Something to keep in mind.
Based on what we've said in pre-race, I don't think it'll be too much of a deal, but we've been wrong before, so see that. And also based on what you've told me, Hunter, this will be the first implementation of restart. So this will be the actual first restart where a leader actually has to play the real game of when do I go within that blue zone, and Kyle Ammon will be the lucky duck of that. So as done in the real world, you have that blue zone. The leader can fire off at any point before in that zone, and if he goes at the end of it, the flagman will wave the flag. And if Cameron Stone does get in front of Kyle Ammon in the restart zone, he is at risk of a penalty. So we'll see what happens with that as we come off turn 4.
Pace car getting ready to head out the track and let Kyle Ammon make the decision here as to when he's going to go within this restart zone. I'm sure, again, that's something that these drivers have had to practice and get used to. It's a new thing to iRacing and a new thing to the league. So here we go inside the restart zone, and Kyle Ammon's going to go pretty much square in the middle of it, and he gets a pretty solid start. Looks like those slightly older tires aren't going to hold him back at all. Cameron Stone also getting a pretty decent start. He's able to hold on to second place right in front of his teammate, RJ Root. And the top line there, Corey, and it kind of faded.
Yeah, top line is very, very dependent on how many people are willing to work it. And right now, 3 guys up front are willing to work it, because there goes Stone, Root, and White. 1, 2, 3, just blowing by Ammon. Ammon, you can tell he has no friends. Bell Yellow is not the drink of choice in the top 5 right now. It almost seems like there's something wrong with his car as far back as he's dropping now. I don't know if it's tires, if he's doing it on purpose, but he is definitely dropping like a rocket. We have some sideways. I think we have a wreck going on. 42.
Oh boy.
20, Sprite.
Devin Medeiros. Heavy damage in
62.
front of that machine.
62 at Neil Pearson. That'll be caution number 2.
And I'm not sure. I think Adam Benefiel might have narrowly avoided that. Take a look at the replay, see exactly what transpired. It looks like, ooh, Michael Christopher in the number 70, a little bit of net code with the 42 machine. Sends him into Blake Giglio and up into the wall, and more net code with Devin Medeiros. That was nowhere even close, Corey. That was incredible net code.
Just based on the first angle I saw, I think the first wreck was probably a little bit more justified. I'd have to get a better look at the second one, but that is the nature of internet racing, and that's something that all these guys know is the closer you race together, the more risks come about, which is kind of why we talk about patience versus, going for it early on. And unfortunately, that's what happens, and that's the end result of it sometimes.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate incident there, and Blake Giglio nowhere to really go. And Devin Medeiros, he should have gotten through that, but unfortunately, the netcode decided differently and just tagged the tail end of that car. And behind him, everybody's just scrambling. I mean, you've got Jeremy Miller trying to get around the bottom. You've got Chad Edwards, Cody Bird. You've got Sean O'Brien Jr. Or no, that's not Sean O'Brien Jr. That's the number 25 machine, actually. I was thinking of the other root beer car. But yeah, just I mean, that could have been worse than it was. Luckily, a lot of drivers were able to get through there. But
Yeah. Yeah, Andre, from my personal standpoint, it did look like the initial contact was actually completely valid. I didn't see the rest of it, but either way, it stemmed from narrow track and a lot of guys going for the same space. And Ammon, I think Ammon did kind of check a lot of these guys up because again, we don't really know if anything was okay with him or if he was just trying to drop to the back. But I definitely think that had the domino effect of getting everybody slowed up and figuring out how to get around him. But either way, halfway through stage 1 here. Hopefully, we don't have too much attrition from this because still quite a ways to go here tonight.
I'd have to agree. Looking at it now, just from my perspective here on iRacing and getting a closer look, I think that first contact was pretty justified. I think that wasn't necessarily net code; it was just the second one. But yeah, no, it's a track where you're going to have these guys racing really close and just trying to jostle for position. And I think the number 5 was really caught off guard. I don't think he was expecting for a second that the 3 cars behind him were going to, in unison, move to the top side, draft past him, and then cut back down immediately. And that got him out of his groove. That kind of got him checked up. And as he was plummeting through the field, everybody else had to get around him, and it just really backed things up. So, bit of a chaotic restart. It's going to go to Cameron Stone now, I believe, as the lead car. And Adam Benefiel, you saw a moment ago, he was working his way around to get one of his laps back. But the lights are off on the pace car, so you've got 2 SBR machines up front. Dustin Hall finally worked his way back up towards the front after pitting there, so he'll be on row 2 alongside the 48. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do with slightly fresher tires versus our leaders.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if there's actually an effect at all, because there may be, there may not be. Obviously, we have a lot more turning radius here and a lot less turning radius geometry, and a much shorter track and less banking. So you would think at some point tires would come into this, but some drivers have been saying not so much. So be interesting to see that here coming down the back straightaway at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And we did have a few votes in chat for our soda poll, and I'm pretty sure the results ended up going to Team Coke. Team Pepsi. All right, so good. Everyone watching gets a thumbs up from me. Coke has led every single lap thus far from our producer, so let the jinx occur there. We'll see if RJ Root can fix that fact for us. But now Stone is going to be the one in the restart zone. Will he go on the beginning? Will he go middle end? Let's find out what his strategy is going to be. Coming off of 4, pace car pulls in, entering the Geico restart zone, and there goes Stone on the loud pedal, getting this underway, and it looks like RJ Root was ready to pounce because he stayed right with him there, and he'll drop right in behind.
And it was a really good start. Anytime you can slot down to the bottom and get yourself in a comfortable position is pretty good. Starting on the top is always risky and a little bit scary at these tracks. So obviously Cam was not going to block his teammate from moving down low. He went ahead and got a good run, made room for him. And now these guys are going to be able to try to draft away from the field as they are side by side behind them. Dustin Hall using a little bit of draft help from Ralph Hutchison Now the 48 actually switching lanes. He's going to move up top in front of Dustin Hall. And now it's going to be a bit of a battle as we see.
Connectivity issues with White up front.
Yeah, nobody really knows where he is. You see the field checking up because of it. He actually reappears in front of the field, so now they know where he's at. They can go back to racing him, but that was a scary moment for just about everybody behind him.
Yeah, and that's going to cue everybody else to basically leave him last man standing. Once you see that on a plate-style track, you evade the blinker like the curse. So right now we saw the 54, and look at everybody else. Do not want anything to do with you, bro. He's going to the back.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. They're going to go 3 wide here on 3 Wide TV for just a moment. Michael Christopher now slotting down to the bottom in the 48, just trapped on the high line, nobody making room for him. And you're right, once you blink, you kind of become a bit of a pariah at a track like this here, Corey.
And sometimes league admin will step in and, kind of force a driver to make a diversion out of the main pack. Not sure if that happened or if it was voluntary or not, but he's going to go back to eighth and just at the edge of the lead draft, single final for our top 8 spots. And we do have, who's that in the number 38 machine, just a little bit, Brandon Pierce. He's going to be the first driver out of the bottom lane, but not much help. So coming to 24 laps to go in the stage, we would expect it to fizzle up a little bit with probably lap 50 or so, I would expect, Andre. But so far, guys, showing some more patience, especially after those 2 early cautions, just trying to turn some laps here.
Well, and something to think about here is there's a few drivers in this lead pack that do not have a win this season, so points are more valuable to them than they are to the drivers who are locked into the playoffs. Drivers like Cameron Stone, he hasn't won yet this year, and he's sitting here in third. He's got an opportunity to get some points, has an opportunity to maybe get ahead of some of these other drivers and really secure his position here in the playoffs. Ward in the number 67, he doesn't have a win either, so points are going to be very valuable to him. So it's going to be a bit of defense from Dustin Hall trying to keep these hungry drivers behind him.
Exactly that is kind of looking here as I can see our point standings, and obviously Nick Ottinger has he won 3 races early in the season, and due to attendance, that playoff spot he had has been relinquished. So we do have 7 guys locked in on the wins, and we do have those 9 openings on the point standings. And I'll tell you, probably about 12th through 16th, they are within range of a bad run puts you right in that bubble, and probably about 3 or 4 drivers outside of the top 16 are close enough to pounce. So definitely any points, any stage points, whether it be a playoff point, all that comes into play and gives you that little bit of extra push to get that good position. But so far, everyone just minding they're trying to dot their I's, cross their T's, and just mind their P's and Q's, all those things. And who's that? The 63 going a lap down there. That is...
He's 10 laps down. That actually
Bryson Hicksonbog going another lap down, excuse me, after that incident. He was in a couple on the last caution.
Yeah, that is one wounded horse, not a very fast machine. I hate to see it that early on, but he's just trying to stay out on track, salvage some points if he can. But I mean, look at that. That is so far off pace. That's a shame because that is one good-looking car. It's probably the most creative sponsor that we've seen for Soda Wars here tonight. Slurm from Futurama. Not even a real soda, just Bryson likes to go with the fantasy sponsors. He always has the EA fantasy sponsors from the old NASCAR games like Uncle Handy's and Zombie Tachometer, and now he's got another fantasy sponsor.
Well, I'm glad that you told me who that was, because me being an unhip adult here, I had absolutely no idea. I never actually watched that show, so now I know. Excuse me from firing up the old Google, but look at the front of the field here if we can. We've actually kind of had a 2-car tandem situation. I didn't really expect that. Hall and Hutchison pulled away by about 6/7 of a second over Stone and company. I think that's largely due to the side-by-side action going on here. Third on back. Be interesting to see if they get single file, if they can eat back into that gap. But while they keep racing, Hall and Hutchison are going to keep building that lead.
And that's exactly what they want. 1 and 2, being able to lock bumpers and just drive away from this pack. That's perfect. And they don't have much racing left before the end of the stage, so they know that they're probably not going to get into too much lap traffic. So as long as they keep doing what they're doing, they're going to have clean air in front of them and nothing to really worry about. Meanwhile, these guys back here, this is war. I mean, this is an all-out battle for points. This single file that we saw earlier has just absolutely gone away. As, ooh, Cameron Stone with a bit of a slip and slide down to the bottom lane is going to fall in line in front of RJ Root, but I believe that was Sean O'Brien Jr. in that mug machine. That's a certified mug moment right there, trying to get around Cameron Stone.
But I will say I do have some bias towards that Sean O'Brien machine, even though it is a Ford. I am quite the root beer fan myself when I am not craving a Pepsi. So it's good to see some root beer represented. Not a lot of people like root beer, but it's in that P6. So we'll see if give the root beer some love. 45 laps into the stage here. So we're going to have 15 to go. So if you're going to make a move, it's time to make it. Well, that gap we were talking about up front, it's over with, because here we go. That one machine of Dustin Hall, he's going to have to block the run from the top of the racetrack because that very, very brightly colored one machine of Josh Ward, tomato award of the race to Josh Ward for not having a matching number. But either way, huge push he gave. And look at him with the hard cut to the bottom getting underneath Hall.
And I just want to point out that is not good for Josh Ward, because that will absolutely be a penalty. The league has a pretty stringent rule about making sure that your paint scheme number matches your assigned number, and so that would be a bit of an issue for Josh Ward. I'm seeing the number 1 for him on my end as well, so I don't think that's just trading paint scheme.
PTR TV, we give you that the tomato of the race award whenever that happens. So we got at least one given out today.
Indeed. The
tomato juice V8, yeah, big drink sponsored race. There we go.
Could have had a V8 indeed, as our producer said. Look at Matt White in that number 48. He has had a lot of pace tonight, and I think he's searching around the track. I've seen him go high, seen him go low. He wants to get around this leader. I don't think he's content riding behind him. Question is, how's he going to do it? And do you think that some of these cars behind him might be bold enough to join him when he does make that move?
Let's see if that connection issue was just temporary and that he can regain the trust from those behind, such as Christopher, Ward, Hutchison, O'Brien, and I believe Miller, who's the last to tag along in this lead pack. They got to regain that trust. Haven't really seen him have that issue since that kind of that opening restart. So maybe things have cleared up. Maybe someone, little Sally in the background, stopped using Netflix or whatever it is, because things have been clear. Look, he's looking high. Thought he was going to take a run, but he probably wasn't sure if Christopher was going to be able to go with him and didn't want to lose a spot, so stays right in line.
Now, Michael Christopher did win the Division 2 race. Again, just a bit of an explanation. Division 2 is a bit of a recruitment race for 100% Cup Series. It is a race where prospective drivers can join in. They can show the admins what kind of ability they have behind the wheel, and if the admins decide that they're fit for the league, they can jump up to the actual 100%. As we do have a move for the lead, 48 does have a partner in Michael Christopher. Again, the D2 winner.
Oh, Christopher!
Getting tight. They're 3 wide. Josh Ward in the middle. What a save by Christopher, and what a bold move by Josh Ward. That was an exciting moment.
Yeah, Christopher used every last inch of this Atlanta Motor Speedway, and there wasn't any more to offer. Luckily, he kept it off the wall for the most part. He may have pancaked it just slightly, but they'll tag on to the back of the pack. So now the outside lane for your leaders is the desired groove, because White is using that groove along with Hall. Now, is the handling coming in where these guys can't run the bottom as quickly? Is this some kind of aero thing? Are they just having fun up here? I guess I don't quite have the answer to that, but they do seem to want to prefer the top now.
Yeah, it seems like maybe as the tires wear, you need a bit of a wider turning radius that the top of the track can provide. But again, Dustin did pit back on lap 20-something. I can't remember exactly the number, but he did pit, and he does have slightly fresher tires. But still, if everybody else is going up top because their tires are wearing, well, then you're going to go up top as well. And another thing to think about here is there may be some intimidation factor. The 48 having those internet issues earlier, you might think twice about trying to pass him, especially if you're Dustin Hall and you're locked into the playoffs. But as I say that, he's going to make a move to the bottom. Matt White lags out. He has completely disappeared right on the nose of the number 1. That checks him up, sends him back to the 42. Dustin Hall is not clear to the lead yet. He was fishtailing through turns 1 and 2. He's able to get it back under control. Now he's got a huge push from the 54. Man, oh man.
Yeah, and I almost wonder if it's almost like he pressed the intimidate button there, going back to the NASCAR 2004 reference. But that's going to be the second time of the race, and I'd have to imagine, I don't have the chat live, Andre, but I have to imagine driver chat is getting pretty aggressive of, hey, we can't have this guy up here. It's going to cause a wreck. So I don't know if admin will intervene at some point, but this is where we said it's going to pick up. Huge wiggle there from Hall to the inside of one. But this is where it's going to pick up the stage on lap 60. These guys are fighting for these pivotal points.
Yeah, these guys are racing like this is for the race win and not just a stage win. Ralph Hutchison, especially, has been really aggressive with the bump drafting, and I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Ralph is known as a very aggressive driver in the league, and when it comes to plate track, sometimes you can use that aggression to give somebody a shot and get a bit of an advantage. So right up his alley. But man, oh man, we're seeing so much pushing through the corner. Ward getting a push to the left rear quarter panel in the turn. That's not normally ideal, but he keeps it under control. They're on the back bumper now of Matt White in the 48. You can see just how close they're getting through the corner. Possibly 3 wide behind him as Ward is going to fall off the rear bumper, and that number 1 getting a little bit squirrely. A lot of that big moment behind him. What happened there?
And still 3 wide. 30 of Miller, it's going to be to the top. Hodgson in the middle. 38 appears to the bottom. There's still 3 by 3. And into the fences, I think that was Miller to the top of the track. Not a lot of space here for 3 wide. Very tight confines in the 35 feet track width here at Atlanta. But Andre, we've seen it many and many a time. You want the stage points, but how many races have been ended going for stage 1 wins? You have to be aggressive, but you have to keep the car in one piece. Still 200 laps left in this race.
Yeah, it's risk versus reward, and I guess these guys think the points are worth the risk because they are racing for them. And the number 48 is continuing to have internet issues. Last time we saw him in the windshield, he had actually disappeared, and Dustin Hall could not see him. Now he's going to get right back on the bumper. And going back to that 3 wide situation, Corey, every time we've had people get 3 wide, the driver on the top seems to start sliding that front end up towards the outside wall. So I got to wonder if there's some pretty heavy dust and marbles up there, and there's just not enough grip.
Yeah, that third lane, as I was kind of talking about, just from a pure geometric standpoint, you can kind of see the wall it's not symmetric. The wall kind of undulates. It's almost like they weren't really using a protractor when they built it. And it goes in. Oh, here we go, wrecking on the backstretch way. 42 and the Josh Ward, whatever number he is, having a wreck down the back straightaway.
And I can't believe that everybody was able to get through there. I think these two may have been the only ones involved. And I'm not certain if that's going to be this stage. I believe it will be. But I'll tell you what, Corey, I'm going to go pop up into the admin chat and make sure that that will be the stage. And I will return momentarily.
Yeah, copy that. And the wreck did look to happen from just a bump draft gone wrong between Miller and Hodgson there on the back straightaway. I'm sure we'll get a replay up in just but that's just what happens here. We do have the replay on the screen. You can see the 30, that bright colored machine. That's Jeremy Miller. And it was just a bump draft gone wrong. Not sure if maybe we can get an onboard of that from the nose of the 30. I think that'll be the dictating shot there. But ultimately, that's what it was. And Josh was just in a really bystander position there on the top of the track. We do have the chopper cam, and that will do it just as much justice. You can see bump wrong, and nothing at all you could do if you're the 1/67 machine of Josh Ward.
Now look at Damaris in the bottom. That is some absolute heads-up driving by Damaris. He made an aggressive move to shift the momentum of that car down towards the apron, and he kept it under control. Let's take another look at this. Keep an eye on that double O car behind this incident. There's the bump draft gone wrong. It's going to send him up the track. Damaris sees it, and immediately, I think a lesser driver probably would have spun themselves out trying to make a move that quick, but man, that was really awesome to see. Also, that was the stage. I do have it confirmed with the admin, so it is the number 48 who takes home the stage win. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't locate him in one of these Discords so we can maybe have a word with him. Matt White, you got a copy?
Yeah, I'd like to have a copy. How you doing today?
How you doing, Matt? Well, you got a stage win. You look like you got a lot of speed out there. How you feeling?
I feel pretty good. Just trying to bide my time there, see what I got going. Trying to work with some guys. Working with my team owner, Dustin Hall. He seems really quick this week too, so kind of interesting to see what we can come up with.
Absolutely. Now, we've noticed just a little bit here on from our broadcast booth that you're having a little bit of internet connectivity issues, blinking a little bit here and there. Is that a concern going forward? Or are you feeling pretty confident?
I feel pretty confident. I don't know. Lately, this service has been acting weird at the beginning of these races. It's been happening in A opens and stuff, and it settles out after the first 20, 30 laps. So hopefully we're taken care of. If not, then I'll do what I did before and I start going backwards.
All right. Well, we wish you the best of luck, and hopefully it does sort out for you because you got a rocket ship underneath you, and you're having a good night so far. Well, thank you for your time, Matt.
Thank you so much, Andre. Thank you, Carlos.
And we got him out of the booth, and he's going to be restarting a little bit further back in the grid. So you heard him, Corey. He thinks it's going to stabilize out. You think things are going to go his way?
It's hard to say. Anything with internet, of course, it's out of a driver's hands. So whether you can, whether it's going to work in his favor is kind of the roll of the dice. But I think speed, tactics, and teamwork. I think he has all that. It's just that external factor, whether that's going to be on his side here tonight.
Yeah, it definitely will be. Pit lights are off on the pace car, so we had a pretty quick caution in the grand scheme of things. We're going to be getting it back racing. Actually, that was a really fast caution. It was lap 58 when that occurred, and we're going to be going green here on lap 60, transitioning to 61. So I guess the old iRacing officials have got this thing pretty much under wraps and ready to go. But Dustin Hall on the outside, and we've got Kyle Ammon on the inside. Kyle's had a fast car tonight as well. No stranger to starting up front. Let's see what kind of jump he can get. It's going to have Hutchison behind him. Brandon Pierce. We know that Hutchison's been pretty aggressive, so I'd expect him to get right up on the bumper of the number 5. We're now inside the restart zone. And there goes our leader, but not getting a massive jump. Dustin Hall actually staying pretty close to that right rear quarter panel, and Hutchison right on that rear bumper, Corey.
Yeah, the 54 really wasn't right on the bumper as you may have thought. He did kind of leave a little bit of space there. Didn't really go for the immediate bump draft, but they'll be side by side off of 2, at least for the second spot. Going to be a pretty big push on that outside lane, 38 and the 1. That's going to pull the 1 of Hall to the outside of Ammon. And Ammon, again, I don't know if it's the gearing or what, Andre. That car just cannot get going. Look at him just dropping like a rock here, just absolutely just losing tons of time, and that's killing Hutchison.
Yeah, he is plummeting through the field, and this is what we saw out of Kyle Ammon in the last restart where he was towards the front, really just kind of dropping back. And I'm not sure if it's intentional. Generally, if a driver's going to drop to the back on purpose, they're going to do it on the back straightaway where there's a little bit more room to navigate. But I don't know, maybe this setup is just one that doesn't fire off right away. That is completely possible.
Sure, like how much, I'm not really a setup guru myself, so I'm not even sure if gear ratios are something that they can change anymore, but it almost seems as such, where whether he's staying in 4th instead of going to 5th or whatever the situation is, but it costs him 5 spots rather, right off the get-go. So he'll be in that side-by-side battle with some guys to his outside and try to pick off some of those spots in due course. Hutchison still being very loyal to him. Not sure if there was another any kind of teamwork going on there in any capacity, but they're working hard together. Lap 63, top 6 have single filed out. Also Alexander Vandesand, haven't talked about him at all tonight. He's found himself in the 6th spot, so moving on up in that number 96 machine.
Yeah, I think he's just figuring out this track, gaining confidence, and just kind of slowly working his way forward as he does so. Look at this, Michael Christopher kind of weaving all over the track, trying to find a way past these cars in front. And that's the thing with these play tracks, man. Sometimes you see a door that you think is going to open, and you dive into it, and then you realize, nope, there was no door. We got our 3-wide TV multicam. Bottom of your screen, that's the race for the lead. Top of the screen, we're taking a look a little bit further back towards Van de Sant. And there's Kevin Steele on the top of the screen. He's still rocking and rolling after a couple near misses there and a couple of those incidents earlier, but a clean Coca-Cola machine so far. He is going to maybe make a move down to the bottom. Some blinking still for a few cars. And I gotta wonder, I've noticed a few cars blinking in the night that I don't normally see blinking. I gotta wonder if maybe the iRacing service is having some issues.
Matt White definitely acting in Christmas tree mode right now, again on the left side of your display right now. So his concerns are still there, even though he was very optimistic over them. So, and they seem to be worse than ever. So if and when he gets around an admin, I have to imagine there's going to be some intervention here at some point. It does seem to be getting really bad. So those around him, such as Jeremy Miller and Hutchison, definitely going to be rather scared right now.
If anybody in the chat speaks Morse code, let us know what Matt White's car is telling us. As we do have a move for the race lead. Michael Christopher down low, and that is going to be a lap led for Pepsi potentially here, Corey.
Pepsi Nitro. I went to the grocery store today. Still forgot to try that. I've heard it's smooth. I've heard it's smooth and kind of flat tasting, so it doesn't really tickle my fancy there just off of that terminology alone. But maybe it's worth a try one time. But here comes Hall to the outside. Inca Cola and Mountain Dew and Cheerwine top lane here with some steam here, and then the just generic Ford car of Van de Sant. So far, that inside lane is kind of outnumbered. Really, the first time we've seen that, especially early in the run. Nobody wants to run that inside, kind of running the Dale Jr. groove here at Atlanta, second and a half lane. Maybe just keeping that car wound up, trying to save the right front tire.
So as Dustin Hall surges back to the lead, Corey, we got a driver in the infield care center, so I'm going to make you run all the way down there, and we're going to have a word with Nolan Hodgson.
All right, we got him. Nolan, you got a copy from us?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, so unfortunately out of the race here today, and that number 42, some early cautions here at Atlanta, and I think you were a part of one of them. Talk about what took you out of the race and what your thoughts were coming into today.
My thoughts were going in that I felt like I was going to race pretty good, set up race pretty good all week, had a good qualifying position, better than I usually do. I was up there in the top 10, and then first caution I had got hooked by someone who was trying to go 3 wide. And then another time I was hooked by someone who was trying to push, and so I figured that, you know, I was involved in 2 cautions. I don't want to put myself in the way of another one, so I parked it.
Yeah, so it seemed that we've seen a lot of single file, but at the same time, we've also seen just as much guys going for it. So were you just kind of bad luck with the guys you were around? Maybe a little bit too much aggression going on in the areas you were on track?
Yeah, around the front, that first one I was in was right off a restart, and so I don't really blame anybody for really kind of being aggressive, because there's really, you know, once the line gets formed, there's really nothing you can do. So everybody wants to be in that line that is being formed. So I don't really blame them. But yeah, I feel like, you know, 55 laps into the race, I think it's a little bit too much. But I guess I can't really blame anybody for that.
Yeah, that's just the nature of the new Atlanta Super Speedway, Nolan. But maybe you'll have a better run next week at Loudon. We'll talk to you then.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you.
There we go. A little bit of insight from Nolan. Understandably frustrated. I mean, you and I were kind of talking about it before. It was really surprising how aggressive some of these guys were getting in stage 1 for the stage points, and it makes for an exciting show. It really does. I mean, I had a blast watching these guys battle for position, but it's a different perspective when you're on the track and when you're actually getting affected by some of these really, let's say, optimistic moves. So you can kind of understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, exactly. That is, you know, it's just, you know, we sign these drivers sign up for these races because they're 3.5 hours long. They want to emulate the whole thing, and this is in real life. When they get cut short, you get really frustrated as we come through Light Polis, turn 3 and 4 here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. As you can see, iRacing forgot something. I said I would say at least once in this broadcast, but coming through 3 and 4, everyone is running that really, really top lane. And we were just talking about Andre before the stage that guys were really hesitant to go up into that 3rd lane. Again, as I was talking about, the wall is not your friend up there. You can kind of look at it. I swear, everyone's calling me crazy, but just look at the wall there. It's very uneven. So it's very hard to be solid in that 3rd lane. But they are definitely trying it, and akin to a Daytona Talladega, to get that inside lane working, you got to get the numbers on your side.
Absolutely. So one thing to keep in mind is that the cautions that we've had have kind of not really affected our fuel strategy. It's kind of fallen right in line with the stage cautions and things that we've had. So as far as this stage is concerned, we're still looking at a set of green flag stops, and it's going to be very similar to your Daytonas and your Talladegas, where you don't want to pit run.
We do have our telestrator footage of not having light poles. Thank you, Carlos.
Yes, we do. Isn't that phenomenal? A service that you pay for every single month. They can't even get the light poles in 3 and 4. But yeah, the pitting sequence is going to be pretty interesting should we get that far under green. And I would say we're going to see that if these guys want to split the stage in half in about 30 or so laps.
And that would be about it, because, I mean, you're going to see the drivers. There's the natural strategies of, do you run it dry and pray for a caution? Or if you just really think the guys are going to be patient and, you know, run it green, and maybe you can split it. But speaking of patience, what is that? Because here we are side by side, pace lap formation at the front of the field. Again, Hall to the inside. And Hutchison has worked his way back to the front. He is on that inside along with Michael Christopher. Again, he's been up front all day today. Great run by that 70. And here we go again, pace lap formation, about 4 or 5 rows deep. These guys double file. Talking about patience and getting through the end of this race. Don't see it right now, Andre.
No, there's not been a whole lot of patience. I think that went out the window somewhere along the line on, let's say, lap 5 or 6 maybe. But we are 3 wide for the lead. Michael Christopher on the bottom. Ralph Hutchison losing pace up top. And in the middle, you've got Dustin Hall with nowhere to go. He's just kind of hoping these guys sort themselves out and just barely slipping in front of the number 54. Man, oh man, that was close. That spotter must be on point for Dustin. Either that or he's incredibly brave, because he just barely got in front of him. But it worked out, because now Dustin is back to the lead. They're 2 wide for second place behind him, and finally has a little bit of breathing room.
2 laps ago, Andre, I don't know how Hutchison kept it off the wall. There must have been a 1/4 of a millimeter between him and the fence there in 3 and 4. It definitely kind of wadded everybody up a little bit. But here he comes with almost a slide job move to the bottom of the track in front of Hall. And let's see, he's going to pull right up the track, but he's going to lose about a car length or so in the process. That's going to give the run to Hall. And here they are, just going to play crossover move in a slight 3 wide move for a quick moment there. 70 and 38, very close proximity there. They will space out and give each other some space. But again, guys playing with the air, playing with runs, playing with lanes, and playing with some bump drafting here on the front stretch.
Yeah, and the bump drafting is definitely risky. We saw what happened to Hodgson earlier in the race when he got a bad bump. And, man, there's nothing worse than being on the receiving end of a bad push, because there's really nothing you can do in that situation. You just have to hope that there's no other cars around you and that the damage is minimized, because once that car starts to go, it goes. But despite that, these guys have been pretty brave with their bump drafting, and I don't think what happened earlier has been a deterrent at all for these guys. They're still racing as aggressive as ever, and I'm really impressed with Dustin Hall's defense up top here. He's not able to get clear into the lead. He is kind of still side by side with Ralph, but he's making a fight for it. And earlier in the race, I don't think we would have seen that. I think the top line is actually getting a little bit more viable the more these guys run it.
Yeah, definitely so. And I was just pointing that in 3 and 4 that you could just see even the inside lane, the guys are really struggling to hold. At first they were absolutely just hugging that red and white line, but now they're really struggling the inside lane to hold it, which whether that's handling, rubber buildup, this momentum, whatever it may be, definitely starting to move up the track in all capacities here, it seems.
Absolutely, and I tell you what, I am really surprised they're racing this hard right now. I mean, we're not even close to the stage end, at least for the time being, and we're not really that close to the pit sequence either. So this is just these drivers want to be side by side, wanting to battle, maybe have a little fun out here. Oh man, hold on to her, Brandon. Brandon Pierce sliding up the track. That's going to check up that top lane a little bit. And that leaves Michael Christopher with the question of where do I go now? Because everybody behind him kind of checked up, so he was able to kind of move around. He went back to the bottom. Now Ralph is actually going to get clear into the lead for the first time in a few laps. And we have an incident in the back of the field. We're going to try to cue that up. Ooh,
Jeremy Miller sideways. I caught that very quickly.
Brandon Pierce involved now. Remember, Brandon was sliding up towards that outside wall last we checked on him. So number 26 also involved.
Dustin Hall was the initiator. He got into the wall off of 2, and it wadded everything up behind him.
We'll try to dial that up on 3x TV replay. Here it is. And on that number 1, just a little bit of a love tap to the wall, and the 38, nowhere to go. I mean, there was no time to react to that. Damaris not able to keep it off the wall. Matt White also involved. That double O went for a wild ride. That was a hard hit to the outside. Almost thought he was going to make it through there, but the 38 nosing into that inside barrier pretty much at Mach 1. And the 26 just unable to get checked up in time. And that spun him around. Not too much damage on that machine.
30 and Miller, I think he may have some some suspension damage, just hobbling there on the inside of the track. Again, still learning the nuances of the damage model and how it interacts with these next-gen cars on iRacing. But that one is going to that one's going to sting, Andre. I think that one's going to take out at least 3 or 4 guys from direct competition, and the rest of them may be able to chug along and hopefully get some damage repaired. But I think we have a lot of pit stops. Actually, no, we don't have pit stops. I was looking at the wrong number there, but everyone just...
If we can, I'd like to dial up the view from that mug machine. Sean O'Brien Jr., he, I think, snuck through there, and I'm not exactly certain how he did, because it was a very close call at the front of that wreck for him. You can see the chaos just happening all around the track.
And that's just the nature of super speedway racing. We do have that onboard that you cued there, Andre, and coming on the back straightaway. You can see all the smoke, all the sideways, some slight contact with the 26 machine. But I don't think that'll be that catastrophic. These composite bodies can take a little bit of a crunch.
I'm going to dub that the Sean O'Brien Jr. certified mug moment of the race. He was able to get through there. A little bit of contact, but like you said, these cars can sometimes take a beating, and it was a very slow impact, so I think he'll be all right. Ralph Hutchison is in the race lead. Dustin Hall in all of that fell back to 8th. We got our pit stints there on the right side, so you can see who pit this time around and who didn't. So a little bit of a strategy calls here.
Definitely, that is the case, and I believe you said it was 160, Andre, for our second stage. Or
yes, sir.
All right, yeah. So still plenty of time, and 90 plus 6 out of a fuel window, I'm gonna say. So
just a bit.
That pit stop. I mean, unless you're really gonna 50% throttle it, I don't really see you making it from here. But again, I like to be wrong. But we do have 1 to green, so going to get back here. These nice quick cautions here at Atlanta. Do appreciate all of these. So, but we'll see what happens. It's going to be Hutchison and Christopher on the front row. About 5 drivers. Bury, you haven't talked about him. Giglio and Vandesan all stayed out on that last yellow.
So that's going to get them some track position, and again, it'll be Ralph Hutchison leading the way. He's got Michael Christopher on the outside. Michael really seems to be liking this racetrack. Again, winning D2, running up front pretty much all night long, keeping his nose clean thus far. It's been a pretty solid run for that 70 machine. We do have a driver in the infield care center, so we will have the restart on your screen, but we're going to go ahead and bring up Brandon Pierce, who again took that hard hit to the inside wall. Brandon Pierce, you got a copy? Well, Brandon, it was a very hard hit to the inside wall. Looks like the car is pretty much all but totaled. Walk me through it from your perspective. You got a copy, Brandon? All right. I think we're having some technical difficulties. One more try here. You got a copy, Brandon?
Chica, do you got me?
All right, we got you now, Brandon. So again, very hard hit to the inside wall, and really not a whole lot you could do to avoid that situation. Walk me through it from your perspective.
Cars just get tight here as the long goes on, and when you're running on the high side, you're flirting with danger. I almost got it headed into 3 the lap before. Dustin got it, that lap. And there's just not much you can do with a train of cars behind you there when you're up front. So I got into him, RJ got into me, spun it through the field, and that'll probably do it for the night.
Again, you hate to see it. We're seeing a lot of aggression early on in this race. Right there, we see Alex Van de Sant getting a bit of a shove there. What is your opinion on the aggression levels out there early on?
So this isn't, the typical plate track. There are big runs here because handling matters. So you got a lot of different cornering speeds. You got people that are checking up at the start. You get people getting loose off. So it creates this aggression with people taking their runs, getting out of line because they don't want to get run over. It's not your typical plate track racing, and it's definitely something people need to adjust to.
All right. Well, Corey, any questions or anything for Brandon?
We covered it up pretty well.
All right. Well, Brandon, thanks for your time. We're sorry your night came to an end like that. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast here at these plate races. Like you said, it's a different type of plate race that it's going to take some adjusting to. But so far, you guys have put on a great show, and we wish you the best of luck next week. Brandon there out of the booth now. And like you said, it is plate racing, but it's different. Handling really does matter here. And that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, Corey. I didn't expect setup to matter so much. But again, from what I heard from some of my friends that are in this league, that are in this race, they really did have to put in some time to get the car where they want it. So it really does kind of change the dynamic of the race entirely when the handling does have to be on point at a track where you're pretty much wide open the entire time.
Yeah, I think the weather conditions do have a say in that, whether it is strictly dynamic or whether they were custom picked. I'm not entirely sure, but it definitely is hot here today at Atlanta. Hot Atlanta, as we used to dub it back in the day, 84 degrees. We started the race with, I think we are still at 84 degrees and 121 track temp. So for iRacing standards, that is a scorcher. So that's definitely going to facilitate a slick track, but we are going to, the sun's going to go down. We're not going to, hit night, which is good because the lights don't work. But we are going to probably have a little bit more shade here. So as this race does progress, I do think the grip will get a little bit better for these guys.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And not just the shade, but also just laying down rubber on the surface. So we'll have to see how the conditions change as these guys continue their way through the night. I tell you what, I got a question for the chat. It's just kind of a fun little engagement thing. We're approaching lap 100, and I got a few soda-related questions for the chat. What is your favorite soda that is no longer produced? That's something I've been wondering about. If you're in the chat and you feel like playing along, let us know what your favorite soda is that is no longer being made. For me, it's kind of a cop-out because you can't really buy it in the store, but you can get it at certain restaurants. Vanilla Coke. You used to be able to just buy it in the can, and as far as I'm aware, you can't do that anymore.
I think they still sell it in diet form, but yeah, you can't get it in its own natural anymore. But you certainly can still get it diet. I know that because I haven't bought it, but I know I've seen it.
The only way that I've known to get vanilla Coke in a while is actually at Steak and Shake. They have the different flavors that they add into the soda, and so you can kind of create your own vanilla Coke by having them add a pump of vanilla.
I was going to say it's not the bajillion in one Coke machine, but for me, I'm at a crossroad of whether I want to say Pepsi Blue or Crystal Pepsi. I think I'm going to say Crystal Pepsi, but Pepsi Blue is right there, 0.1 behind. They had it a couple years ago as a revival. I went to every single Walmart and probably bought about 40 bottles, but that archive did not last. So bring back Crystal Pepsi. The campaign starts here, but we'll see if anybody does chime in chat as well on that. But racing still is pretty juicy there, Andre. Alex Van de Sant, through all of that conversation, has managed to take the lead, at least in the interim basis. But look at Adam Benefiel with that comeback sun drop to the inside. He's in that third spot, but Matt White has temporarily turned the Christmas tree off, and his connection issues are situated, and he is trying to give that push to the 96 on that top groove.
Well, Matt White might have called his shot. He said he thought that the internet issues were going to stabilize, and for the moment, I'm going to knock on wood, but it appears that they have. Adam Benefiel surging to the lead on the bottom in that sun drop machine. What a roller coaster of a race it's been for Adam. He dropped to the back of the field to start the race, as they do go 3 wide. But Adam Benefiel dropped to the back of the field at the very start of the race. He got loose and spun on his own. Now he's back at the lead.
Just blows out our eardrums here on the back of the pack here. But Kevin Steele around, the 4 of Chad Edwards. And then in the back, Jeremy Miller, and essentially a 2-part wreck there.
So that is going to be big damage for Miller and Tracy.
Attrition is going to be more the name of the game that I think either of us expected. As a replay on screen right now, focusing on the 33 machine. You can see the 30 in the middle there.
Ooh.
30 just came up on the entrance of 1, didn't give the 33 ample room. They make contact, and 30 just rode the wall for a significant amount of time.
Jason Taylor just getting the last bit of that in the Dr. Pepper car. Yeah, I'm not sure what possessed Miller to kind of dart up the track like that. It was kind of an interesting move there. I'm also not entirely certain how Kevin Steele got involved in that, but that is the trouble spot. And we saw that in real life last year in NASCAR, I believe, as well, where they just, they were trying to merge into this narrow little section, and it was tough. So the number 7, I believe that's Wayne Grassi, just kind of avoiding the wreck, coming to a stop to avoid it.
Yes. Naturally, Andre, as we do have pit stops going on now. JC Gibson, where did he come from? He is now the leader, but part of what happened with the repave of Atlanta, when we raise the banking, it affects the transitions, and I know they did their best to make the transitions as smooth and similar as possible, but they are definitely sharper, which I think leads to those issues on entry and exit.
Yeah, that definitely could be. Looks like Adam Benefiel is going to win the race off pit road. Now, these guys are pretty much set to the end of stage 2. Stage 2 is going to end at lap 160, which is just at the fuel run. Again, it's about 63 to 65 laps, depending on how much draft you get and whatever you do to save your fuel. But any way you look at it, they should be set. Some of these guys that stayed out, they are looking a little bit more precarious, but we'll see. Gibson in the 09, like you said, he's currently at the front of the field right next to Matt White, who, again, luckily, it seems like Matt's internet issues have stabled out. And tell you what, that's bad news for the rest of the field, Corey, because that 48, he's been pretty quick tonight.
Yeah, he's very quick, but whether the trust has been regained is the second story that we don't know, because are these guys in the moment that you have to go at that go time, at crunch time at the end, are you going to have the trust to really engage and give him that huge push when you can give somebody else? I mean, that's where his problem is going to lie, I think, with the competition more than anything, as we did just get our 1 to go signal. And Andre, I think my biggest question right now is for those 5 or 6 drivers up front that stayed out. You know that everybody who just pitted basically can get to the end of the stage, and if you stayed out, you can't. Are you really banking on another yellow, or is there some alternate strategy that you can possibly conceive?
Well, I think they're probably banking on another yellow. Again, I'm not in the car. I'm not in their mind. I don't really know, but I would have to assume they're waiting for another yellow. It wouldn't be a crazy strategy to pull. We've got 5 cautions so far tonight, and it seems like when they come in rashes. It's never really just one caution and then we move on. It's kind of been speckled out pretty evenly. So we'll see if we make it to the end of the stage under green, but I would say these guys don't have too much to worry about, even if they're short on fuel. Because as the trends of the race have gone, we've really had very few green flag runs longer than 60 laps. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. I am a little bit concerned with some of their tire wear, especially Kyle Ammon. It's been a while since he's pitted, and we know that car isn't really great on the restarts to begin with. So handling matters. We've heard that from Brandon Pierce and a few of the other drivers. So I don't know. Staying out could be a bit of a risk.
Yeah, one thing I'm going to do here is on my back end, I'm going to go on board here and try to figure out for the both of us what is going on with Ammon as we do have our restart. We'll see if he can fire off as opposed to his last few. Green flag in the air, getting going. Big jump from JC Gibson on the in the front of the pack, and here comes White trying to get a run to the outside.
Jeffrey Souza in that number 56 machine. He is dropping towards the back while the car ahead of him in line 48. He's making a move for the lead, trying to get around Gibson, but Gibson's got that bottom lane, which is very functional. I'm hesitant to say that the bottom is the preferred line. It seems like the top and the bottom have really evened out as the night's gone on. I'm not really sure there is a preferred line, but regardless, the 09 is using that bottom, and here comes Souza with a huge shot to the number 48. That may be enough to get him clear by the time they get out of the corner. We'll have to wait and see. And Kyle Ammon actually having a really good restart here, Corey. This is the restart that he needs and looks like whatever was going on those other restarts, he's got it figured out now.
Yeah, precisely because I was watching him and trying to figure out what was going to go wrong, that everything went right. That's just commentator's curse right there. But again, that pace lap formation up front, White and who's that number 4 car on the top of the track? Jeffrey Souza. Do we have a second Tomato of the Race award, I believe, going on for Jeffrey Souza and that 56/4 machine on your screen right now? Either way, he's given that push to Matt White, and that may be enough to clear White down the back straightaway if he chooses to do so. But I'm going to imagine he's not. Nope, he's not going to be clear. Still double file throughout basically the top 18 cars right now.
Yeah, we're having some issue with Souza's paint scheme. We do have the correct paint scheme on the broadcast. It's just that trading paints, for some reason, when we all loaded into the session, initially it must have had an old paint scheme for him kind of sitting in the folder.
Copy that.
Overwrite. But going on board now with, I believe, Souza as he moves up into P2, and he's going to be right on the rear bumper of that 48. So trying to get him here to the lead. And even when they do get clear, I'm noticing these guys are sticking to the top. So you've got some drivers that prefer the bottom, some drivers that prefer to be up towards that outside wall. And it seems like Matt White, well, he just kind of wants to be wherever he thinks the speed is and wherever he feels safest, which is kind of a nice place to be in these plate races. But he's got a lot of challenge. That 09 not giving up. 5 car has done a great job pushing Gibson and trying to keep him up towards the lead. We haven't seen Kyle Amon do a whole lot of bump drafting yet tonight. This has really been the first time we've seen him get real aggressive with this, and he's doing a great job of it.
Yeah, yes, he is. One of the better runs he's had this season, and he figured out whatever the problem was on the restart. He figured it out that last time by. He's kept his track position. I'm sure everybody who was pushing him behind appreciates that. It's going to cost Ralph Hutchison many spots on that last caution, but so far everything is good. And up front and still double file. And quickly to bring up our attrition tonight, we do have 4, 5, 6, 7 drivers of our 39 formally retired from the race, but we still do have 27 on the lead lap. So basically either you're out of the race or you're on the lead laps. It tends to be how this is shaken out here tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting to watch how it has played out. And look at this, a little bit of a shot from the 59. I think he had to drag the brake there for sure. If he actually made contact, that could have been pretty disastrous. You do not want to be bump trapped in the corners. I mean, it's possible, just extremely risky. Number 5 getting super aggressive with that bump draft, and yet still not quite able to get Gibson clear of White until right here, coming out of turn 4. There we go. Gibson clear into the lead. And you know, I gotta wonder, Corey, we talk about temps whenever we go to these plate tracks. You know, does the engine get warm when they're bump drafting? How long can they lock bumpers? With Atlanta being as hot as it is and the temps being as high as they are right now, do you think radiator temps are going to be a bit of a concern here?
I personally don't think so, and the reason I say that is because of the fact that where handling is so important. You really haven't seen for a sustained period of time straight like locked bumpers, because someone is going to drift high, someone's drifting low, and that's just those little nuances in lines are definitely giving these guys that air versus the Talladega Daytona, where you're basically just, you know, there's really not any handling variance. Everybody is just kind of slot car formation.
That definitely could be, and I think you're right. If we were going to see temperature be a concern, I don't think we'd see these guys be quite as eager to bump draft and push like they have been. They've been really on that tonight. Gibson doing a great job holding on to the lead here, and I think Ammon is really just waiting for an opportunity to get around him. The door was open there momentarily. Is he going to try to get down low? No, he's going to wait it out. Matt White getting a bit of a run on the top, as behind them you've got Cameron Stone there in 3rd, trying to make something happen. Again, Cameron Stone winless this season. He is the 2020 league champion, so he wants to get himself locked into the playoffs so he can have another chance at it to go 2 times as a champion. But man, it's been a rough season for him, and this plate track, which he was really not looking forward to, is actually treating him pretty well so far.
Yeah, and so far still plenty of time. As long as you're in contention at the end, you have a chance at it, and he's done just that for himself. I did see the 56 of Jeffrey Souza just a little bit ago, purple car to the inside. Took a brief look at a 3 wide in the trial, but luckily he did think better of it. And I did update my local trading paints. Do want to rescind the tomato award to Chad Sander, because as I can see, he does have that proper paint scheme. So do want to rescind that. But either way, in joking fashion, coming down the back straightaway here, and top looks like Ammon has cleared and White has cleared. Will they choose to go to the bottom? Nope, they're going to voluntarily run that top of the track, as we've said, whether it's saving the tires, whether it's the handling, by choice, choosing to run that top of the racetrack.
Yeah, and we're seeing more and more drivers run that top line by choice. It seems to be where they want to be as the tires wear. It just seems to let the car rotate a little bit more, and they seem to be a little bit more comfortable. But Chad Sander there in third now. He's got a little bit of pace too. He's kind of been slowly working his way through the field, and now up in the top 5, battling for position behind him. You've got Adam Benefield, which you just barely saw on frame for a minute there. Again, we were kind of talking about it when we had that caution, but it's been a crazy night for Adam. He dropped to the back of the field, and he raced his way back up front with the help of a lucky dog, and now he's up in the top 5 battling for a potential race win. So very crazy for that 83, but again, he's just one of those drivers you can never really count out.
Yeah, just exactly that. Thought I heard Carlos getting a little feisty in the background, like something was going on, but it was him coughing. He's made a lot of loud sounds in our ear, giving us some calls, but that was the one time it wasn't. But who is that in the back of the pack there? Sander and Christopher side by side, again, nearly 3 wide around BenSound. Looks like 48 of White and the 5 of Ammon briefly locked bumpers in tandem formation there. They did separate, and now Ammon is trying to work with Hall. Hall says no to that, goes back down to the inside to help White. They are trying to get to Benefield and Hutchison, who slightly pulled away from the rest of the pack.
They are getting a little bit of separation as they are really starting to battle back here. Dustin Hall, Matt White, these guys really shuffling the positions around. Is in front of them Adam Benefield and the number 54, Ralph Hutchison, trying to sort out who's going to be in the lead, who's going to maybe get out front into that clean air. It's like the sun drop machine is kind of patiently waiting behind. I don't think he's being too anxious to get out front, but I'll tell you what, we are approaching lap 118, so we got a little ways to go in this stage. If you ever wondered what 8,000 constant RPM sound like around a track, let's crank it up and find out. And we are back from the crank it up. Adam Benefield currently leading the way, right ahead of Dustin Hall in that number 1 machine. Kyle Lehman still holding on to 3rd place, but he's battling for it with Ralph Hutchison. Presumably would like to get back up front. Another very fast car that maybe hasn't led as many laps as he wants to, and he is definitely fighting for this lead. We got a bit of a breakaway here. We got the top, I believe, 8 cars. So we got the top 8, and then about 2 seconds back to the next pack, which this is really the first time we've seen this kind of separation here, Corey.
Yeah, and I think this is, I'm not sure exactly what lap. Looks like on estimate about 20-ish laps of a green flag run thus far. We haven't actually seen green flag pit stops here tonight because of the caution. So, but this is also the most rubbered up and probably the hottest the track has been this evening as well. So I think the handling definitely coming in. These guys are running higher on the track than they ever have. So whether they're looking for some cool real estate to get some better grip, not quite sure, but could be very well be the case. Huge push from Giglio to the back of Hutchison, and now he's going to take a dive to the inside.
He's going to try to make it happen. He's hugging that red and white line, but just going to have to give up enough momentum that Hutchison was able to get back out front in that 54. Christopher still right behind him.
Something with Benefield. Benefield really slow, and has fallen back to the clutches of the second pack of Hickenbottom, White, and company.
Gotta wonder if maybe he didn't get a little bit loose and had to check up there, see if we maybe can dial up a replay and see. But yeah, he's in a pack here with some damaged cars behind him that maybe aren't going to be the most draft help either. So that's
end of the fence off of 2. That's what it was. May or may not have been some net code with the 1, but either way, it was some wall contact for Benefield. So we'll see if A, he can catch back up, and B, if the car is damaged.
That wall, you know, all you got to do is just barely scrape it, and you're going to lose a ton of momentum. And this is a track where momentum is key. So unfortunate to see, but we do have a replay through Wide TV Multicam, top of your screen. Keep your eyes on that number 83.
Is this net code or not? $1 million question.
No, just a little bit kind of, I would say, loose/tight. That front end started sliding right up towards the top of the track, and that wall reached out and hugged him, and unfortunately had to fall back to that second pack.
That will separate us into 6 cars, if you can count Kyle Ammon, who is kind of has the last car syndrome right now. He should be able to get back there. I think he will be. He's in 6. So that'd be a 6-car breakaway. Matt White, during our Crank It Up segment, he did have some connectivity issues again, and that dropped him back. So now he is leader of the second conga line right now. That consists of about 10-15 cars, and then we go back to the 19th spot, Robert Anderson in the 81. He leads a long conga line that pretty much encompasses the rest of our field.
I would say conga line is a great way to describe it. We finally single filed out, and I think every time we go to a plate-esque track, you always see the point where the drivers finally start to chill out. You know, maybe they have a few wrecks, there's some attrition, and it kind of acts as a wake-up call. You think maybe we're finally getting to that point, Corey?
Yeah, there is a point at every race where you just kill laps, and you know, you just subconsciously drive while you're thinking about what you need to buy at the grocery store the next day, and you know, all the things that you just consider while you're just subconsciously driving. That's usually what happens for a good 40% of the middle of the race. We haven't quite seen that yet, but with our stage coming in 32 laps, I'm not quite sure if we'll have enough time to see it, but we do have the variable of some pit stops from some of these guys. I mean, we did have that concern with about 5 drivers who did stay out, such as Matt White and Kyle Ammon, for example. Kyle Ammon being in this front pack. He's not going to be able to make the end of the race, the end of the stage, rather. So he's going to have to make that critical decision on when do I pit? Do I pit? Do I pray for the caution? This is going to actually come to reality for him.
Yeah, reality's about to hit him like a sack of bricks if he doesn't get that yellow flag that he's been banking on. I'm sure he was really hoping that when Adam Benefield slid up into the wall, that was going to be bigger than it was. But Adam, being a good driver and knowing what he was doing, he was able to get that thing pointed in the right direction and didn't really cause a whole lot of issues with that bit of a moment. But I mean, he could still get a caution. He's got a few more laps of fuel in the tank, so I'm sure whatever he does, he is going to hold out as long as he possibly can. I mean, there's no point not to. You just got to stay out until that thing is starting to sputter. Otherwise, well, you're going to the back anyway. So that's what he's going to be doing. As we approach Kyle Ammon's possible pit stop, our last soda question didn't get very much interaction in the chat, so I got another one. Maybe this one will get some more interaction. We got a lot of drivers on track that are sort of repping their favorite sodas. So my question is in the opposite direction. What's your least favorite soda? What is the soda that you maybe had once and have vowed never to drink again?
All right, well, I think we need to have a little bit of clarification on this. Is this regular soda, or is this diet soda, or is it
anything
just
goes.
everything? Okay. I'm gonna need a second to sit on that, so I'll wait for your reply.
I'm gonna say mine, and people are gonna hate me for this. I really don't like Mountain Dew. I don't drink Mountain Dew. It's probably my least favorite of the mainstream sodas. It's just not that great.
Now I'm gonna go with a soda that actually makes sense to not like, because I've really never met anybody under the age of 70 that likes this. Moxie.
Okay.
It's basically Coke mixed with Robitussin, without the medicinal effects. If you've ever had one, and tell me it tastes like anything otherwise, but I'm gonna go with Moxie. And surprisingly, there's no Moxie car in this race, so clearly everyone agrees with me.
I have not thought about Moxie in a very long time, but I have had one, and you're right. It is kind of like medicine, sort of. But I still think it might be a little bit better than your standard Mountain Dew.
I mean, if you've Mountain Dew from KFC that's been slightly watered down, I'm sorry, it's just the winner. But,
Hey, Andre,
you know,
what's your favorite Cola?
My favorite soda? I'm not sure if Carlos's mic is hot. He asked me.
Yeah, I am.
Soda. Okay. My favorite soda is probably just plain old Coke.
That's my least
I'm
favorite
really
soda.
I'm really not much of a soda guy. I'll be honest. I drink two things. That is water and coffee. All throughout the day. That is pretty much what I live on. It's very rare that I drink soda in general.
I gotta go with that. I've come akin to the little squeezy flavor bottle things lately, the Crystal Light kind of Mio type things. I've come akin to those. Otherwise, I drink my little homemade Starbucks. I'm bougie with my little Starbucks creamer. But if I do have to have a soda, I'm about the Pepsi Max life. I think in my older age here, as I approach my early 30s, I can't drink full sugar soda anymore. I feel like my teeth are going to disintegrate. So I had to go to the sugar-free side of life. So Pepsi Max, unless I'm really feeling it, then I'll get a Pepsi or Coke at McDonald's or something.
I will say Pepsi Max is probably the best sugar-free soda because you can really barely even tell the difference in taste. It is pretty solid. That's a good pick.
And if you are a fan of Dr. Pepper in general, and I think there is a Diet Dr. Pepper car in this race, Diet Dr. Pepper is the best diet soda by far in terms of actually being realistic to the real taste. So if you are a Dr. Pepper fan, try the diet. You'll save yourself the sugar, and I guarantee you it tastes almost spot on. It's Diet Mountain Dew. Again, I don't know if you're hot, Carlos, but Diet Mountain Dew, it's about 70% of Mountain Dew, just a little bit of aspartame taste, but it's definitely palatable.
Now, I will say, just to kind of ward off the legion of Mountain Dew fans, I did really like that Mountain Dew they had for a while that was like the old recipe with real sugar. Whatever they called that, back in the Car Tomorrow era, I think Junior actually had a car with that sponsor. But it was basically just regular Mountain Dew, but with real sugar, and that was actually far better, in my opinion, than regular Mountain Dew. I could actually drink those and not despise it.
Yeah, I know in Mexico and even Canada, I think you can actually get real sugar sodas, but here in the U.S. we have to cut costs in a capitalistic society and not give anything legitimate. But
my mic is was once again hot. They sell that here in South Florida. They call it Mexican Coke or Mexican Sprite or whatever it is. It's like, I think they're using like real cane sugar, and they market it as that.
That's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that.
But also the U.S. have to use cheap chemicals for everything.
It's probably more of a South Florida thing, because we're closer to.
I don't want to make this political. But anyways,
that wouldn't be political. That'd be regional.
No, I'm saying that we have to use fake ingredients for the sake of saving money for CEOs' pockets. That's my political take on it. But anyways, there's a race going on through all this kerfuffling. And
Indeed
we're at 20 to go in stage 2. And up front, about, 6 cars still. Ammon's still on track now. He's 54 laps into his stint here, along with Matt White. So although Matt White's in the second pack, he still is in the same kerfuffle right now, where he's going to have to pit within about 5 or 6 laps. But everybody else is in due course to finish the stage off. Hutchison with Giglio now up in that second spot. Christopher, Hall, and Am in your top 5.
That 54 is a pretty good job holding on to the lead. Blake Giglio, we haven't really seen him lead any laps tonight, but he did have a few close calls in some early incidents. I believe actually the first incident of the night. And look at that right there, Corey. That 54 is actually diving to the bottom of the track, trying to break the draft. I think somebody needs to get on the team radio and tell him that he's not driving an Indy car.
Yeah, if you want to break the draft, you'll find yourself about a second a lap slower. So keep it, but just keep him behind you. I guess it's kind of that little break-even point that he's trying to figure out now, or maybe there's a temp issue. Maybe there's too much tape on Giglio's grill. I mean, there's reasons for everything that we don't always make sense of. But look at Hall there, just completely by himself, unprovoked, while everybody else is on the bottom. He ran the top, so I think definitely we underestimated how much handling was going to matter here, because it's been the talk in all of our interviews thus far, and you could just visibly see it with the different approaches to getting around this racetrack.
Yeah, it really seems like it's a matter of preference. We've got some drivers that really like the top, and I think Dustin Hall has kind of shown that he's pretty dedicated to it when he can be. Unless there's a car down low, like right there, Michael Christopher kind of provided a bit of a slingshot there with the draft, so he did opt to go low and take that opportunity. But when he can, he likes to run up top. Meanwhile, you got Ralph Hutchison. He's been definitely a bottom feeder. Even when he has the opportunity to move up and maybe make some moves towards the top line, he's always preferred to be down on that red and white line, and it's worked out for him so far. Obviously, leading the race, it's pretty obvious that it's working out for him, but again, I really can't make a call here, Corey, what lane is the preferred lane. I think the top and bottom are really close to being equal, which at a plate track like this doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often at repaves in general, even though this is a banking and configuration is different from the norm. There was a lot of fear upon the repave here at Atlanta that it was going to be right around the bottom, akin to your Michigans and your Kentuckys and all that stuff, that we'd have to put some goop on this track and get it to race. But no, it's right out of the get-go. This place has been rather racy and has translated over into the simulated world rather well. So good job by, given what we have to deal with, I guess everybody kind of executed quite well, as the 20 of Devin Medeiros, the Sprite ride, will go yet another lap down. He resides in the 31st position. Getting our shout out in our YouTube live chat for the number 53 machine, the Preston McRae crowd, always a fan favorite. Currently in the 27th machine now is Preston. Again, in our root beer scheme, we already had our mug root beer. We have our Bargs root beer on that number 53 machine here tonight.
Wait. Did you just say Bargs?
How else do you say it?
That's a Q. It's Barks.
Barks?
Yeah.
Bargs? I don't know. That's just how I've said that for 32 years.
Oh, man. That's Barks. One way. Now I'm questioning myself. I've always said, everybody around me has always called it Barks. Now I'm confused.
Per the English language, a Q has to have a U after it. So that's why I've just never treated it as a real Q, because Q cannot be a self-stating letter.
Now I'm gonna have to Google this.
Carlos just said at the end of a letter, but what other word in the English language ends in a straight Q? The apostrophe S does not count. What word ends with a Q? Give me one other one, and I will send you $5 legitimately.
Right,
well,
so,
not really, because I do want the $5.
So Google does confirm it is Barks with a Q, but you're right. I genuinely can't think of another word that just ends with a Q.
So if we're talking about grammatical pronunciations of a word that ends in Q, we have none. So there. Carlos saying compact. Well, compact is it's not a word. It's a. So exactly. So we get to make up our own rules to which we can be right or wrong. Is it GIF or is it GIF? I mean, we can fight about the English language.
No, the creator was wrong. It's GIF.
Is he really dead? Oh no! Rest in peace.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Is there a GIF for that?
Oh no. I mean, I'm sure there is.
I'm sure Carlos is looking for it to put on the screen as we speak right now. Is 10 laps to go in our stage right now, and we try to see what is going on. Not too much going on. Ammon is praying to the fuel gods here. He's on lap 64. I think that is a stretch of any estimation we've been given. So
Yeah, you only have a few laps left in that thing at most.
I mean, unless he has that, who was that driver in the 60s that had like the humongous fuel line saving all that extra fuel? I don't know if he has something like that going on, but yeah, he's definitely going beyond anything that we have estimated. So is there 9 more laps in there? I mean, maybe we'll find out, but we don't estimate that there will be. But he's chugging along, and we'll see what happens in the last 10 laps of stage 2.
Now, full disclosure, my fuel estimate was given to me by Cody Bird, who tends to spend more time in the pit barrels than on the track. So take that estimate with a grain of salt.
And shots fired. Cody Bird still running on the lead lap, though, having a modest run here today. I'm not saying a good run, I said a modest run. In his mellow yellow ride. So, in a Steve Park car. Steve Park had a vicious wreck here at Atlanta back in 1997 that took him out of a lot of time in 1998, if memory serves. So, whether that replication is in fact going to happen is still a question to be seen. That was right after Atlanta was repaved, as a matter of fact. So, per that logic, Cody Bird should have a wreck before the race is over, but you didn't hear that from me.
Yeah, no, Cody, he really was looking forward to this race, and he is having a pretty solid night. After the last split race we went to, he kind of felt like, going back and thinking about it in hindsight, he felt like he wasn't aggressive enough. He was kind of too afraid to be up in the midst of things. He didn't want to be in the way, and he kind of played it a little bit too passively. And I know that coming into this race, he wanted to be a little bit more aggressive. He wanted to be kind of in the fray, and I think he's doing a good job of it. He's been a little bit more confident tonight, and he is having a good night in that Steve Park car, and we'll see where he is by the end of it. I think maybe come stage 3, he'll get even more aggressive with it, and I hope to see it.
Well, he's in the fray, but hopefully he doesn't drive over his head.
That is true.
Here we come. 5 laps to go, and it is getting a little bit juicy up front because we have a new leader. Blake Giglio has taken the lead from Ralph Hutchison with that help from Michael Christopher. Again, he's been up front pretty much this entire time. Hall is going to try to give Hutchison the push to get that outside back in its proper place, but it does look like this is going to be the lap for Kyle Ebb, and here it is. He's slowing here. 5 laps to go of the stage, and the 5 machine comes to the attention of his pit crew.
Man, oh man, some near contact
and
there.
then just behind him, that must be, no, it's not. Casey Gibson, still waiting on Matt White. But that's going to be our 5 guys who didn't pit. They're paying the price for it at the end of stage 2. But still, here comes Hutchison. He's past Giglio with that run on the outside, getting that push from the 1 of Hall. The 96 of Vandeshead. Whoa, really close to the back bumper there off of 4 of Hall. But he's going to take that and give him a push.
Again, Devin Medeiros in that number 20 at the tail end of this lead pack. He's not on the lead lap. He's just kind of using their draft and kind of working his way around. But Blake Giglio on the bottom trying to hold on to this lead. Ralph's up on top, which again, we've seen him prefer the bottom. So kind of in unfamiliar territory here. But with a good push from Dustin Hall, he is going to get clear into the lead. And I just want to point out what bad luck it is for those drivers who didn't get a caution and wound up having to pit again. We've had cautions pretty consistently, but this green flag run has been one of the longest of the night, and it just did not play in their favor. Pit road is now closed, I believe, as we are 3 laps from, or actually it'll close at the end of this lap, I should say, as we'll be 2 laps from the end of the stage. Ralph is going to go all the way to the top, get a little bit loose. Van de Sant able to sneak in front of the number 16, and that is going to put him up into P2, and Ralph's going to have to play some real defense here. Let's hold on to this lead.
Yes, he is, and it's going to be 2 laps to go this time by. Pits have officially been closed by admin on this coming lap, so any future pit stops will be due a penalty, but side-by-side battle for second is going to allow Hutchison to pull away, but that's not what you want to do, akin to old-school methods here at Atlanta. You don't want a lead. Here comes Van de Sant on that outside. He's going to have enough steam kind of trying to side draft his way up there. Unfortunately, the run kind of sterilized out, so he's going to fall back, but Giglio still trying to give Hutchison a push as we're on the white flag of the stage.
Ralph's got him 2 by 2 behind him. And you pointed it out there, Corey. The 96 had a head of steam, and it just immediately faded out. So he's going to have to plan this next move a little bit better, see if he can't keep this momentum up. The top line not gaining the run down the back straightaway that they're going to need. Through 3 and 4, Ralph's looking pretty set into the lead. Giglio getting pretty aggressive with a shove here. Maybe get him loose.
He's looking to the inside. Is he going to go on the inside? 3 wide at the stripe. Outside, Vanderson had a shot at it. But that's going to be the stage. Hutchison hung on. It looked as though Giglio was thinking about the red and yellow line rule, whatever color it is, that he was going to think about a move down there. Whether it's permissed or not, we don't know, but he chose to stay on the racetrack, and luckily for Hutchison, he did just that to take the stage.
Yeah, Giglio was kind of proposing a question to Hutchison, and it was, how much are you willing to risk for some stage points? Because Ralph really did throw a pretty big block there, and it worked out in the end. I mean, these guys kept it going, and Ralph was able to hold on to the lead just barely. But man, that was some serious battling for some stage points, and now that's going to close stage 2, bring us into stage 3, the final stage of the race. And once these guys come down pit road, we'll have a word with our stage winner, Ralph Hutchison. But man, long green flag run to end that stage. Do you think that trend's going to continue, Corey?
I hope so, but cautions tend to get more populated towards the end of the race, so we'll see what happens. We can report that Kyle Ammon was in the free pass spot. Of course, with that last pit stop, did go a lap down, but he is in position to get that back. Unfortunately for Matt White, who has also been super quick here tonight, he's going to either have to take the wave or wait for yet another caution, as there goes Ammon to get his free pass and his lap back, and everybody else is on a very busy pit road.
Yeah, you would be a fool not to pit. Looks like the 96 might have gone past his stall there, but he didn't back up right away, so not sure what the situation was there. Adam Benefield also working his way into his stall. Dustin Hall already getting some new right sides on that thing before the left sides go up. And yeah, everybody coming down pit road as expected. And if things go well, it should just be one more pit stop to the end for these guys. Who's going to win the race off pit road? Dustin Hall takes the white stripe first, and Michael Christopher right behind him. Hutchison losing some time on pit road. Blake Giglio also falling back a little bit in the running order there. But with that pit sequence done and over, let's go ahead and see if I can't find Ralph in the Discord. And Corey, I'll let you have a word with him.
Most certainly. We'll grab him in and see how it is going for his race, our stage 2 winner. We're scouring the radio channels right now.
So I don't actually see Ralph anywhere in these Discords. So I'll tell you what, we'll bring in Blake instead, who made that bold move, and let's see what he's thinking.
All right, Blake, Corey up in the booth. You got us?
How's it going?
That's good. So that very exciting end of the stage there, you were right on the back of Ralph. Seemed like you were teetering with whether to go below the red line. We're not quite sure if it's a rule or not, but either way, you stood behind him, but you have a great car. What's your thoughts for stage 3?
Yeah, I'm thinking we're gonna have to. Hopefully, we break away like we did right there. That'd be sweet. I think right now it's just save your tires and be patient. You know, we had to wait whole 97 laps to decide the winner, and you can't win it right now. So hopefully, me and Mike can work together here and try to stay up front here.
On one to go. I'll ask you one more quick question before we let you go. Were you surprised how much handling came in today? It seemed like everyone discounted it, and it's been pretty important.
Yeah, I didn't really realize the setup was good at handling, and it's pretty good at handling. So kind of worked out good for us. Drives kind of like a dirt car, which is kind of nice. So we'll have to see what we can get into here.
All right, we'll let you get back at it, man. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Blake Giglio out of the booth and getting ready to take this restart. Again, even the driver's a little bit surprised by how much handling really mattered tonight. I know I, as a spectator, was pretty surprised, and it's just kind of funny that you got some of these guys on track thinking, man, yeah, this setup's pretty important. The pace car is getting ready to make a left-hand turn, and it's going to be Dustin Hall leading the way again. So after his little mishap with the outside wall, he was able to get back out front, maybe get some of that damage fixed up, and hopefully he's not down on power or anything. He can fight for it up here with the rest of them. Ralph Hutchison, our stage winner, starting right behind him, so he's not going to make it easy on him. we go. Pace car pulling beneath that red and white line. It's probably one of the more gradual turns the pace car's made all season. They're making it easy on him this time. And here we go. Dustin Hall in the restart zone, waiting for that green flag, and there it is, the outside. Bit of a checkup there. Mike Christopher not getting the best start. Backed up to his teammate there, Blake Giglio. Ralph Hutchison down beneath him. Actually, look at that. Michael Christopher able to fall in line there in second. That was a pretty good move.
Yeah, Hutchison, not sure if by design there, but he held back a ton there. Left that huge opening for Christopher to fill in that gap. But Christopher is going to be, he's not going to have the help from Giglio. Giglio dropped back a little bit too far. Now the Ada RJ Root. Have we talked about him more than once today? Not quite sure, but he's going to try to do his best to get to the back bumper of Hutchison and give him that push. You can see Matt White in the background. I saw somebody blink in the background there. Not quite sure. Just kind of presumed it was him. But one thing I think we should focus on, Andre, is the grip here for stage 3. The speeds should be going up. Track temp started at 125. We're down to 113. You can see all the shadows coming over the racetrack, particularly when we get to 1 and 2. You'll see all the billboards creating those shadows, which only adds grip, only adds speed. And with more grip means these guys are not going to be as afraid to put their cars in these holes.
Yeah, I mean, anytime these guys can get a little bit extra grip and make the car a little bit more comfortable, they're going to be happy about that. So as the shade comes in, they are welcoming it with open arms, I'm sure. Right now, Hutchison holding on to the lead as things are getting a little dicey towards the back of the field, kind of weaving back and forth. I believe that was Damaris Hickenbottom trying to keep it between the lines there. He was kind of forced into a situation, boxed in between cars, but did a good job keeping it going. And look at that. We've got Anderson in that 81. He was up front quite a bit in stage 1. Then he kind of fell off the face of the earth for a while, Corey. And, well, like so many other drivers, he was at the front, went to the back, and now here he is racing for the lead again.
Yes, he is. And that's actually Alex.
And I'm hearing Cody Bird just set the fastest lap of the race. The number 13, top of the timing pylon for now.
And that is the word. And we'll see if anybody is able to eclipse that. As I could say, Alex Princeton was the blinker that I didn't see. That 9 car on the top of the racetrack is having a little bit of connectivity issue. So far, so good. And going back to your point on Damaris Hickenbottom, I mean, I haven't been around for a long time, Andre, but is this probably the best run he's had this season, or at least in quite some time? Nearly hanging on to the top 10 in stage 3. I haven't really seen him have this great of a run, at least in my time with this series.
Yeah, this has been a phenomenal run for the Double O. In fact, I was actually surprised to look at the scoring pylon and see that he's racing for position, because when he made that contact with the outside wall, I thought that was going to be his day down. And there was a lot of bodywork damage. And with this new damage model, if you hit the axles in just the wrong way, you're going to be hurting for a long time. But no, he got that car fixed up. He's just outside of the top 10. And Damaris out here putting in work. It's really great to see him finally having a run that we all know he deserves. He puts in a lot of time practicing in the simulator, and not only doing that, but racing in the league and acting as kind of rule enforcement and as an admin, doing double and sometimes triple duty, and yet still up here just outside the top 10. Actually, now in the top 10, he's moved into 10th. So what a run for Damaris Hickenbottom. As we were talking about that, we've had a change for the lead teammates, Michael Christopher and Blake Giglio. Well, they locked bumpers and they shot up to the front, Corey.
Yeah, most certainly the case. And I was really hoping in my interview with Giglio to actually see if he has definitive knowledge if the apron is a rule or not, but we didn't want to hold him on 1 to green, because we saw that last lap of the stage where he really considered whether to do it and then decided is better to not do that. But so far he's going to hang tight. Do have a lot of side-by-side in the front pack, and then we do have a breakaway as about 19th position. Kyle Ammon, who, remember, he got the free pass after that pitting strategy faux pas. He is leading the second charge from that 19th position on back, but so far top 18 still in good proximity right now, with Tanner Marty in the Bargs, however you enunciate that root beer car, hanging onto that top front pack.
And they are really battling it out. I mean, these guys are side by side, bump drafting like crazy. We're towards the beginning of the stage, and patience has been at a minimum here. And I'm even noticing on the back straightaway. It's not just Ralph trying to break the draft. All of these guys are kind of weaving on these straightaways, trying to make sure the guys behind him don't get a perfect run up through the track. It's a very high-speed game of chess, and I gotta wonder when things are going to settle down, if at all, here in the final stage. I mean, it is winding down. We're getting closer to the end. Maybe the time for patience is past.
I think it's, at this point, Andre, me as a semi-cautious driver, I would be being patient right now because I know that there's another pit stop and I don't want to get taken out before that pit stop. I would, kind of turn it up, if you will, after that when, we're racing to the checkers. But maybe you want that better position. Maybe you're trying to get closer to somebody who you want to pit with. All these things could very well be the case, but the fuel window will probably open up right around lap 200. You probably want to stretch it a little bit longer, but at the very least you want to go to 225 laps, and from that point on, we have one more pit stop, and then you race your heart out to the end of it.
Speaking of racing your heart out, we got Robert Anderson getting a massive run up top. That's going to put him in the lead. RJ Root trying to follow along. That's another driver that we saw take a heavy hit earlier in the night, and now he's racing for the lead. I think you called it earlier, Corey, when you said that sometimes if you take a hit in the right way, this car will take it. The new damage model, this new next-gen car, it's not always going to be a death sentence, especially in a track where the draft can help you through. And for drivers like RJ Root, it's been a bit of a saving grace.
Now, these composite bodies, if I'm not mistaken, that's what they are. They do take a little bit more of a hit. Now, naturally, the suspension with the independent suspension, we break toe links here, and that is very well simulated here on the service. So you're more likely to have wheel issues than you are actual aero damage, at least from my minimal experience. So, and of course, having the Band-Aid at the draft does cover any minor boo-boos you may have accumulated, which we know RJ has done just that. But he had his one win at Bristol Dirt, which we covered, had that phenomenal finish there. And RJ's had some modest runs, but he hasn't really had a run where, he's had, at least in what I've seen, hasn't really had a race-winning car since then. But doing the best he can and having that great run in that 8 machine here tonight. But kind of an understatement for Robert Anderson because, we really haven't covered him at all. And look at him just leading both lines and just doing a great job in that Kodak ride.
Doing a great job indeed. Also, shout out to Damaris Hickenbottom. He just reached the top 5. So we talked about him running in the top 10, and we said, man, he's having a really good night. Well, he decided to improve on that, moving up into a battle for the top 5. Looks like Giglio just took it back for the moment, tentatively, but they are swapping back and forth, top lane and bottom lane, gaining and losing momentum, respectively. But man, it's been a good night for both the league admins. Kevin Steele, Damaris Hickenbottom, both inside the top 10. Kevin getting a little bit of damage in a wreck earlier in stage 1, but just like all these other guys who got a little bit of damage, he's overcome it.
Yeah, Hickenbottom kind of cueing his inner Mikey Waltrip here. Just found the speed, found the running position here on the semi-super speedway, and hopefully he can take it to a solid finish here. I thought I saw some blinking out of him, but could have been somebody else. But either way, it seems to have sorted itself out. But looks like Anderson's time up front may be short-lived, as the 70 of Christopher and Giglio are working on making that inside lane work. But you can just see how the exit of the corner is much better on that outside lane. You really keep that momentum wound up. That's always been a deal at Atlanta. It's still the case here on the reconfiguration. And see these guys really starting to really work that third lane, getting very, very dangerously close to that wall there, Andre.
Dangerously close indeed. We've seen a few drivers flirt with that outside wall, and all it takes is a scrape, and it's like there's super glue on these walls. You get stuck to them, and it's difficult to really get away unscathed without sacrificing a ton of momentum. So they're going to have to be careful if they're going to keep running this outside line, but we have a side-by-side battle for the lead. Michael Christopher getting another good run down the straightaway, but coming into the corner, it's going to be Anderson who drives it in just a little bit deeper, gets a good push from the number 8. He will maintain the lead. That low line is slowly creeping up and slowly getting closer to the lead, so it's really going to be a battle before too long. Kevin Steele is about 5 cars back on that inside lane, and he's just kind of watching this all transpire. And I think if you're one of these guys who's not immediately battling for the lead, it's kind of what you want to do. You want to keep your eye on these guys in front of you, watch what they're doing, pay attention to what lane is moving, obviously if the top lane gets moving a little bit quicker and you want to move up through the field, then you got to get up there somehow, some way, or vice versa. For the most part, just be patient, watch what these guys do, and when a door opens, well, you walk right through it. But man, oh man, all this weaving on this straightaway, Corey. I mean, this is like they're trying to draft a caterpillar.
Can't quite say I've ever done that before, but the 70, I'll tell you, he really wadded everything up there off of, I think it was somewhere on the last corner, the last lap, and that really bogged up that inside lane quite a bit, but so far so good. And it's hard to say, Andre. I'm trying to figure out if these guys are, they're struggling with the handling and they're swerving so much for that, if they're going for air, or like whether for radiator, for air, or if they're trying to just mitigate the aero push and just trying to get the air on the nose, because you're not really seeing guys nose to tail throughout the corners. Everybody is kind of staggered out, and it's really kind of washing out a lot of the runs that could be formed.
Well, and I gotta wonder if that's not by design.
Pick the bottom into the fence.
Oh boy.
Kept it straight, but there goes all of that track position we were boasting about.
Ah, you hate to see it, and that's what I mean. You get into that wall, and it's so difficult to detach yourself from it. It just wants to hug that car and keep it in place, and it's really difficult actually to dislodge your car from it, because if you juke the wheel to the left, you are putting yourself at risk of just snapping around and spinning yourself out. So Damaris did a good job getting off the wall cleanly and not making it worse than it should have been, but a whole lot of momentum and a whole lot of time lost out of that double O. He's got some work to do, and unfortunately, we're in the final stage, so there is going to be no more mandated cautions. And as I say that, well, there's a caution right there, and it's Adam Benefield.
But the third time tonight. Go back on my personal line, and a self-spin again. That's the second self-spin from Benefield this evening.
It looks like middle of the corner gets a little bit tail happy, and on corner exit though, that's where it really goes. And I'm not sure if he just clipped that apron line, maybe got on the paint and just lost grip, but that 83 has just been evil all night long. Just wicked loose. Go on board with Benefield here, you can see he is really just running his line, nothing too out of the ordinary, and it just snaps on him. That's a strange one there, Corey.
Yeah, it does indeed. And I do want to, we've finally been given quantitative proof of the rule of the red line rule, which we're now getting 3/4 of the way through the race, so that's kind of our fault there. But it is forbidden, so that explains why Giglio was so timid, because it was not permitted to make that move. So kind of taking the rule book out of NASCAR, as they in the real world do not allow it, and we are not allowing it here, as here comes everybody down pit road, and should be well out of the fuel window, but they're coming down pit road nonetheless.
Drivers working their way down pit road and kind of sorting out the position. Looks like RJ Root is going to inherit the lead here, but while we get back behind the pace car and get ready to go racing again, we're going to throw it to just a short break, and we'll be back for all the action at the drop of the green. All right, lights are off on the pace car. We're on the back straightaway. We are just a few mere moments away from getting back under green. It's going to be RJ Root leading the field to that green flag alongside Anderson in that 81. Dalton Mobley, a surprise appearance here in a podium position. They're in third. You got Michael Christopher in fourth. Dustin Hall is going to be fifth for this restart, and alongside him, Alex Vanessant. So very familiar faces up front. The guys we kind of see him fighting for the top spot all night long are still up here, still doing well. Patrick Mouchet also working his way into the top 10. Kevin Steele gaining a position there in ninth. But there goes the pace car. And it is time to get back underway for lap 190. Soda Wars 400.
Major wheel spin out of Vandison on the top. He's going to stack everything up, and we're wrecking out back. I see the 10 machine of Chris Cloud, I believe, to the inside.
No caution yet. We have several cars sliding through the infield. Adam Benefield among them, and this driver right here still trying to get out of the grass. Can't quite see the number on it. It's the number 10 machine.
Yeah, that was Chris Cloud. The Dasani ride. Something happened with Vandison. He just did not get going at all. Missed a shift or wheel spin or something, but either way, we do stay green. That's definitely going to separate the field quite a bit. As you can see, we have about 8 guys leading in the top draft right now, and very sparse group of guys through the rest of the field.
Kyle Amon got a big chunk of that as well. Got into the number 10, square on the nose of that number 5. That could be potential engine damage, which would be a shame because we've seen he's capable of leading this race. He's been really good all night. Dalton Mobley did lead momentarily, and then he slid back. I'm already dying already. We've still got how many laps to go? But Dalton Mobley slid back into P6, and as our producer points out, 69 laps to go. Nice. And Dustin Hall through the attrition there is able to get back in the lead.
And amazing circumstances in the caution worked out favorably for Damaris Hickenbottom, because now he's back in the lead draft and he's in 13th. So he's not in 6th like he was before, but he definitely has a chance to reset and come back after that wall contact.
Yeah, I was just saying when that caution came out, it's unfortunate for Damaris there's no more scheduled cautions. And then, like clockwork, the caution comes out to prove the commentators wrong, and it did kind of save that double O. He's back in the lead pack. He's got, I would assume, most, if not all of his damage breaks. So let's see if we can get back up there. A lucky break for the driver of the double O, and another lucky break for Kevin Steele, who, through everything that has transpired, he's gotten himself up in the podium as well.
Yeah, and that number 24, a 24 car with a Coke scheme on it. I'm sorry, this just is not cute. As Carlos agrees with me. 24 and Coke just don't go together. But anyways, we're seeing a single file brigade right now, and we're gonna kind of go akin to real life.
My mic is hot. Technically, back in the, I think, 95, Coke did sponsor Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, but we don't talk about that terrible.
Yeah, we don't talk about those years.
No, we talk about 96 on forward, but anyways. The racing we're seeing now, Andre, we kind of relate every real-world Daytona Talladega race. They race like absolute crazy buffoons for 80% of the race, and then the last 20% of the race, absolutely nothing happens. It kind of is, I mean, I'm sure this is not going to last, but it's seeming to act like that right now.
Yeah, you know, sometimes, especially after a big event like that, I mean, we've had the field separated by that sort of jumble that we had on the restart. So we've got less cars in a pack, and the cars that are here, well, they saw what happened in their mirror. They know that they are one wrong move away from a disaster, and that probably struck some fear into them, and it's making them drive a little bit more patiently. But that number 81, on his own, decided, you know what, I don't like being in line. I'm going to move up top, see if I can't move a position or so. It's not quite going to work out. He is going to stall out. Nobody went with him. Now, I want to point out, Kevin Steele did win last year's Daytona 500. So he is a Daytona 500 winner. He's pretty solid on the plate tracks. And so to see him up here in third place, well, he's definitely got a shot at it here. As we're going to go on board right behind that number 16. And I always love these onboard shots at plate tracks where they're just right on each other's bumpers the whole time. It gives you a real perspective on how little they can really see Really, you're just looking at the car in front of you, and maybe if you got triple monitors, you can see that white line to your left. But other than that, you're just kind of driving blind and following the guy in front. It is not an easy task.
Yeah, certainly the case. And it's just, that's kind of nice when your teammate is in front of you, because you can just say, lead me in the right direction, because I can't see where I'm going. And if you don't have that going for you, you're really just kind of trusting a sixth sense there. We have, who is that? That is Anderson and Vandesant side by side for about the fifth spot, as they're going to have to split the gap here of Chris Clout. Remember, he just had that issue on the restart, so they will single file out and get through him nice and safely. For Machine Chad Edwards side by side at the tail end of the pack, trying to battle and do out things. Hickenbottom pretty much has eliminated that incident, Andre. He's in sixth, and here he is, single sole entity, going to the outside of the 96, trying to get that spot by himself. That's a power move.
Yeah, that was a really good move. For a minute there in the corner, he was sliding up towards the wall. I thought we were about to see a repeat of what happened earlier, but this time he was able to keep it in line, and that caution did a number helping him salvage this race. He's really got a shot at it. I think anybody inside this top 12 or so really has a good chance at it. Being a plate race, you kind of see this revolving door effect where you get people coming and going out of the lead and in and out of the draft, and it's very hard to maintain the lead at a track like this. So it's anybody's game. Hard to make any predictions, but right now they're playing it pretty safe, like you pointed out, Corey. We've kind of got to that point where we're getting to the end of it. These guys are getting a little bit more fatigued. We've had some attrition, so the field's a little bit thinner, and now they finally reached a point where they're like, okay, we're going to ride a little bit, and we're going to turn on the thrusters later, but right now we're going to stay single file.
Yeah, well, one thing of interest, speaking of single files, you can see on the long shot there at the very top of the display, Ralph Hutchison is leading that second charge, and they were for a little bit of time actually gaining. They're about 1.5 seconds. Hutchison is 1.5 seconds behind Tanner Marty, who is the tail end of the front pack. And they're running about equal, if not a tenth of a second faster. So if they can work together and manage to catch up, we'll have about a 20-car lead draft, which creates more energy, more momentum, more opportunities to make moves, which definitely can shuffle the dynamic of what's going on up front.
Yeah, I think we are going to see some shuffling as we get closer to the end. Michael Christopher right on the bumper of the 24. I think he's one driver who maybe is starting to lose his patience. He wants to get back up front. He knows that he can lead this thing. He knows that he can win. And he's got some pretty fast cars around him. He's got Anderson behind him, so he knows that if he moves up top, it's a good shot that he's going to follow him as well. He kind of thought about it right there. He went half a lane up, poked his nose up, trying to maybe signal to the car behind, hey, I'm thinking about making a move here, but Kevin Steele holding on to third place, and Christopher weaving all over the track. He's looking for an opportunity here, Corey.
Yes, he is, but whether the opportunity comes up, very contingent on what everybody else wants to do. And thus far, I think everybody is, as I kind of talked about, just waiting it out and probably not going until the next pit stop, because as it stands, Andre, we're probably not going to be able to finish this out, because we're, what are we, 55 laps to go. We have 17 already run. 55 plus 17 equals too big of a number, so definitely going to be one more stop in this. And I think for a lot of the front guys, they're waiting until the end of that stop to finally go for broking and try to figure this out.
55 plus 17 equals too big of a number. That is the equation that even Einstein couldn't crack, and unfortunately I think it's going to be a detriment for these guys, because they are looking at a green flag stop. They're staring it at the face, because with the field being thinned out, I think the likelihood of a caution is just kind of depleting as this race continues. And the thing is, Corey, they've had no practice for this. We haven't had any green flag stops yet tonight, and these guys are going to have to try to coordinate something amongst each other, because if you stop on your own and you come out without the draft, that could be all she wrote.
Those drivers who do have a little bit more time during the week, who may have done an iRacing official race or an NIS, but at the same time, let's be real, how often does an official or an NIS have a green flag pit stop? So probably that wasn't too much of practice as well. So it may be very well an unknown entity for a lot of these drivers, as I'm just looking back just a little ways, and there was a lot of racing going on. Dalton Mobley, RJ Root 8th, 9th, Chad Edwards, then Ralph Hutchison has caught the, not the lead pack, but has morphed with more of the pack. So that will give us a 7-car breakaway up front, with Hickenbottom doing his very best to hang on to it.
He's doing a good job hanging on to it for sure. He's still there in P7 and maybe just waiting to see what these guys do. This lead pack has broken away, so there's really no need to jostle for position. All you're doing is moving yourself a few feet up the track, because at the end of the day, you're still going to have to come down pit road, and that's where a lot of time is going to be made or lost. So for the time being, I can understand these guys being patient. Dustin Hall has been leading quite a few laps in that number 1. I'm sure Carlos is happy to see that Inca Cola machine lead some laps. It's a nice paint scheme too. I love the color scheme. You know, being a bit of a Michael Waltrip Napa paint scheme fan, kind of reminiscent of that, the blue and yellow. I like that.
Sorry, Carlos. 5th can during this broadcast or throughout the day? Okay, so I was going to say we may need to call 911 for a diabetic coma later, but okay. Okay. Well, I still have concerns, but either way, Carlos is definitely a fan of his soda, and his soda is in first place now. So I assume if Hall wins, he is going to run this scheme for the rest of the season.
And he's probably going to go out and buy a case of Inca Cola if he can find it.
I am going to. And while we're talking about that, I'm going to look it up. If it's reasonably priced, I'll see if maybe I'll try some myself. But
yeah, they got to have it on Amazon or something. Everything's on Amazon.
I can get a 12-pack delivered to my door on July 16th for $12.49.
That's not bad. That's like $1 a soda. Man, now I kind of want to order some to see what it's like.
I'll send you the link. Ready to ship. Oh, and no.
It sounds like you have an issue with Dustin.
Maybe I'm not buying the soda. What's going on? He hit the red line and he got loose, similar to I think it was Benefield.
He was able to gather it up, but man, he has plummeted through the running order in doing so.
There are some situations across the schedule where replay is on screen or multicam. You want to look to the top of your display right now. See, he just got... There's some tracks, Andre, on the schedule where you actually want to run that line because it actually will help the car bite. Here at Atlanta, with this fresh pavement and fresh paint, clearly a reverse effect is in play.
Yeah, it seems to be getting really loose for anybody who touches it. We saw it with Adam Benefield. We've seen a few other drivers get a little loose down there, and Dustin has fallen all the way back to 18th, so he's got some work to do here. That moved Giglio to the lead, and Kevin Steele to second, with Michael Christopher in third. Now, this puts Kevin in an interesting situation because he's got teammates in front of him, behind him. They're not going to be willing to really help Kevin. He's got an LMM driver in front, LMM driver behind, and Kevin doesn't have any teammates anywhere around him. So in a bit of an LMM sandwich, which I'm sure is just absolute torture for Kevin. I don't think there's a team on the track that he would least like to be sandwiched between than them. But, it's a situation he finds himself in, and being a Daytona winner, we know he's capable of these plate tracks. The question is, how well are these guys going to coordinate this upcoming pit stop? Because we are inching closer and closer to it. And his lead pack's getting smaller and smaller, too, Corey. That's another thing to think about. Only 6 cars, really, in this pack now.
Indeed, and Hickenbottom is hanging on to the end of it, and he's hanging on by a thread because that very well may be a 5-car pack. And then sequestered behind that is Mobley, the 77, currently running in 777. So something good should happen for him. So that is leading the second pack now, and trying to see how far back Hall fell. He's all the way back to, it's at 17th, but he is in that second pack, so he's not out of it per se, but definitely has to pull himself up by his bootstraps because he dug himself quite a big of a hole trying to get by the 26th machine right now, Bryson Alexander. But Right now, I think everybody's kind of content with just staying in this single file lane, whether, I don't know if Kevin Steele is content with it. He seems to want to make a single car move by himself, but he is definitely thinking better of it.
Yeah, he definitely is wanting to make a move, but if you make a move and nobody goes with you, then you're going the wrong way. So you really just have to think about what is the risk versus reward. And when we're getting close to a green flag pit stop, again, any time you make up on track now doesn't mean quite as much until after the pit. So patience is really going to be key. And you mentioned that Damaris was just barely hanging on to the lead draft. Well, he finally got the draft proper, and he has pulled right up to the back of Van de Sant. So he's in 6th place, comfortably in 6th place, and now comfortably within the draft. So I'm not sure if he's just going to ride behind and wait for this pit sequence to kick off, or if he's going to maybe try to get back up inside the top 5. Time will tell. Behind this lead pack, you've got Dalton Mobley spearheading the second group of cars with Raymond Root. Cody Bird inside the top 10 right now. He's running 9th. JC Gibson, the 09, he's in P10. Ralph Hutchison led a lot of laps earlier. Now he finds himself just outside the top 10 looking in. And Kyle Ammon, after getting that big hit earlier on in this restart here, he's back in 13th. He was 12th, but Tanner Marty just made a double overtake on Hutchison and Ammon, so that moved both those drivers down.
Yeah, Tanner Marty, very quiet run here today. Haven't really spoke of him more than once or twice, but doing a great job. And I know we had that big debate over the pronunciation of his paint scheme, but doing a great job in 11th as, again, this race does come to a close. And you can see most of this track is in shade. Our track temp down to 108, so down about 17 degrees from the start of the race. You can see 3 and 4. I don't see any sunshine over there, and 1 and 2 pretty well shaded, particularly with the billboard. So all of that is more grip. So you'd think that these drivers do have the ability to make a little bit more aggressive moves than they did earlier, but with the attrition, with the separated packs, it's just similar to Talladega. When you don't have a big pack, there's not a lot of opportunity for momentum, for energy, for different moves to come to fruition. You need more packs to get there. And Mobley in the 7th spot is trying to coordinate that with the help of Root.
And I think if the second pack just got a little bit more coordinated, if they were working a little bit more cooperatively, they have a chance at catching this lead pack because there is more cars in that second group. And generally, more cars is faster. The problem is that it's harder to coordinate more cars.
Mobley dropping back. Oh.
Ooh.
Not sure what happened there. They are pretty much caught up. They were running 0.2 of a second a lap faster. And the gap is pretty much down to half second. So for all intents and purposes, they have caught back up, but not sure why Mobley just went off and bailed.
He might have got a little loose there, like we've seen so many times.
Oh, yep. Just saw it on my own personal end. Just a little bit of a wiggle, and turn 2 is, you'd think we'd be getting more grip, but it seems the inverse is what's occurring, because a good save from him nonetheless. Replay on your display on the top half.
Just a little bit. It might have been aero loose there, Corey. He had a car right behind him on that spoiler, and getting aero loose isn't as prevalent with this next-gen car, but it can happen.
Yeah, that definitely was. It could very well be the case, because Root was right up on his deck lid, so any air that spoiler needed, it was not getting it. And with the handling issues we have and how big of a spoiler we do have, a loss of downforce is going to be very, very impactful. So he'll fall back to the 13th position, but still in the lead draft. That's going to give the lead of the second pack to none other than Cody Bird.
Now, up front in this lead pack, Kevin Steele moved to the top. I think he was trying to make a move for the lead, but unfortunately nobody went with him, so he just dropped 2 positions all the way back to 5th now, and that allowed Van de Sant and Anderson to take advantage and move ahead. Giglio and Christopher now 1 and 2 respectively. So a little bit of shuffling going on up front. Damaris Hickenbottom allowed Kevin Steele to get in line there. But you're absolutely right, Corey. This second pack is gaining, and I think, give it a few more laps, they may catch the draft of these cars ahead. You really only have to be about a second and a half behind to hit the draft, and they are inching towards that. And once that happens, we could have a huge group battling for the lead.
We could. And I want to talk numbers for a second because, you know, I like making myself sound like a fool here. So our stint right now, we're on 38 laps, coming to 39 laps. The farthest we've seen anyone go here today is about 64, so that's another 25 laps. So 27 plus 25, that's what, 252? So you're going to have final pit stops right around 10-ish to go if you run the tank completely dry, and I don't see any way of saving that. So obviously we're going to have varying strategies. Do you run it dry? Do you take no tires, splash and go? Do you take 4? I mean, I don't see why you would, but all these questions coming into play, and we have people on pit road from what Carlos is saying.
Yeah, Brandon Pierce,
Cam Stone,
pit road, Cameron Stone as well.
And based on the telemetry, I can say at 11.7 stop, Andre. So I'm going to presume that was 2 tires from Stone.
That's an interesting play. Sometimes at Daytona and Talladega, you can get away with taking 2 tires, but I think that might be a bit of an unknown here at Atlanta, whether or not that'll actually work, because like you pointed out, Corey, handling matters.
And with needing 10 laps of fuel, I mean, you're probably only going to need maybe 5 gallons, so that'd probably be less than half of a can. So taking 2 tires is more time taken than you probably need for the fuel if you're really trying to calculate it out. And I have to imagine, I know some of these guys do have actual crew chiefs and, you know, actual teams working on these specific numbers, so I'd have to imagine someone is going to calculate it to the T, and that may give them a big lead. But we'll see as more drivers do come to pit lane. Thus far, haven't really seen anybody else peel off. Actually, Matt White, here he is in pit lane right now. Josh Ward, remember they were up front earlier in the race. Hixenbaugh exiting the pits. He's multiple laps down.
Yeah, Hixenbaugh went 10 laps down from that incident earlier, and I believe he has remained that many laps down up until this pit sequence, which put him down a little bit more. Man, look at that bump draft from Michael Christopher. That was a hard shot to Giglio going into turn 1. I think these teammates are maybe not certain which one of them wants to lead here.
Yeah, this is also where, as a second place guy, you kind of just start to figure out, all right, I know I need draft to do it, but is there anything that I can do by myself? Is there any individual tactic that I can pull with nobody's help if it came to it to take the lead? And this is a good opportunity to kind of just start playing around with different angles, with different speeds, with different lanes. What can go about it? This is a good time, and he may be experimenting with some of that.
That definitely could be, and just kind of figuring out how hard can I push the guy in front of me. If somebody behind us starts getting a run and we need to play some defense, how much of a shove are you willing to take? What can you handle? And being teammates, I'm sure they're in the Discord talking about what they're doing and saying, you know, hey, I'm going to give you a shot here, so they can give each other warning, which does help. You know, if you're bump drafting with somebody that's not on your team, and you can't really communicate when and how you're going to push, that makes things more complicated. But they got the luxury of being teammates and saying, hey, get ready, I'm giving you a shot, which makes a world difference. Dustin Hall, all the way back to 18th at one point, now has drafted and carved his way through the field up into 8th, so back inside the top 10. A bit of a separation to the next car in front of him, which is RJ Root in 7th, who's just kind of at the tail end of this lead pack. But if this pack here can maybe make up some time on this pit sequence, they could be right back up there.
Of our drivers that have pit, they are all 1 lap down, at least the ones that were kind of already in contention, White and Ward. They are 1 lap down now, working together at the tail end of in the mid-20s right now. So we'll keep an eye on that and how they morph out into the field. But we still have to wait for those pit stops to take place. And up front, 7 drivers in that lead pack, again held on by Steele. Steele just wanted to go for a little bit more than other people were willing to give him, and went from second to that spot, but still hanging in there. Hickenbottom and league admin both having phenomenal runs. Hickenbottom is actually in the top 5 now, and doing so quite well with that push from the 83, who is not for position, the top leaders are definitely having to siphon through some lap traffic right now. Preston McRae going a lap down. Another lap down. They'll go to his outside.
Things are heating up for the lead here, Corey. We got a battle for second place as Michael Christopher has fallen off of the rear bumper of his teammate, got shoved up high. Van de Sant now down low for the lead.
Oh, to the apron.
Like McRae. Oh, man. That was a bump draft nearly gone wrong. Just a bit of a shove, and it nearly turned him there.
Yeah, that would have been the second time we've seen a bump draft gone wrong tonight. These bumpers, particularly with the Chevys, are not particularly even. Now we have that was a Ford to a Camry there, so not sure how that is, but obviously it didn't work out well in that exact scenario. But so far we do have Van de Sant in the lead right now, trying to use that draft from McRae to facilitate that inside lane, but it may work out to be an incidental pick for him unless he's able to figure something out, because McRae's running that inside lane. Giglio gets loose on the outside, trying to get it caught back up there with the 70, but that 70, rather that 53 might be hurting both of them right now.
That definitely could be, and I tell you what, Damaris Hickenbottom had no hesitation moving towards the top lane to go with Christopher and Giglio, and it looks like he's actually kind of running the middle now, seeing, hey, which lane's moving, which one's not, trying to wait to make his decision here. But now he's going to move back to the bottom, so he seems to be pretty dedicated to following that 70 and the number 16. I think he's kind of chosen them to be the draft partner, so to speak, and they are making it work down on the bottom. Oh, boy.
He just had a push in the quad oval, nearly was catastrophic.
Yeah, that was a scary moment. Blake Giglio now back to the lead. He's got Michael Christopher and Damaris Hickenbottom in tow. The 96 has room to dive in line here. Is he going to move to the bottom in this corner? Yes, he is. So they're going to go single file. And Preston McRae playing the role of a lap car, but now maybe doing a favor for these guys, saving them some fuel.
I was going to say, Andre, are you surprised that they are that dedicated to stay behind him right now?
I got to wonder if maybe they're not trying to save some.
I'm just looking at pure lap times now, and best laps of the day were a 30.2. Last time by, we're at a 31.5. And then relative to Matt White, who has already pitted, Matt White last time by with help from Ward, a 30.7. So essentially, our leaders have slowed the pace about a second from what we know they're capable of.
And you know that the tire wear is not slowing their lap time down that much. So they have to be doing this intentionally to some degree. So I don't know. I think it's a stretch to try to make it. I'm not sure it's possible. And maybe we're completely mistaken in thinking that they're going to try. But you never know. Race car drivers do crazy things. And if they think that they can get an advantage by really going out on a pretty big limb, then, I mean, hey, sometimes that happens.
I'm watching telemetry right now on my end of Josh Ward. RPM's about 8,500, and now let's skip to, let's say, Michael Christopher, RPMs of 7,600. So they definitely have intentionally slowed down the pace here, because even on the straightaways, Christopher, for example, not even breaking 8,000 RPMs on the straightaways.
Now, Patrick Muchet is in the chat of the race. He was driving the 46 car. He says that it is tire wear mostly, so he's saying from a driver's perspective, the tires are wearing and it is slowing them down a bit. So maybe that's part of it.
But my caveat to that would be, at least on the straightaways, you'd give me something and you'd lose it all in the corner. But they're not even on the straightaways. They're not going. They're stabilizing with their corner RPMs. That would lead me, and I don't want to call the driver wrong, but based on the fact that the RPM is solid for essentially the whole lap, I definitely don't think they're giving it full song.
I have to agree. I think they are saving, but I don't know. It's just so much of a stretch to me. Like it really doesn't seem like they should be able to go as far as they're trying to go if that's the strategy. But again, crazier things have happened.
Matt White, his last time by, he was at a 31.4. I don't know what happened to him last time by, but it was not a good lap. But he is a lap down. So basically, there's no way that, unless they super duper slow down, there's no way he's going to get his lap back and then come back around and win the race. He's going to need a caution or pit stops. But we'll definitely have to wait and see, get more information in chat. There's definitely some saving, but it's not the whole story of lap time. So
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yeah, we'll just wait and see how the book writes itself. We're in the final chapter here with coming to 15 laps to go. And oh no, right in front of the pack, Giglio gets super loose. That's going to check everybody up, and it's going to prompt some pit stops as well.
Oh boy. We got somebody sliding through the grass. Is that Ralph? Ralph Hutchison.
Hutchison doing some agricultural work there.
Now, is he still going to try to pull into his stall? Because that's clearly not legal, but I mean, at this point, he got nothing to lose.
Yeah, I think he may or may not have gotten a little contact from the 1 and Kevin Steele, Code Brown there on entry. Maybe we can get a replay of that, but that's going to shake up some of the running order. But we did see Van de Sant come to the pits, and he has completely obliterated his pit stop. So that's going to take the 96 out of it. We do have a replay on screen. You can see that absolute minuscule contact from the 54 to the 1, or vice versa. And that was just enough to send Hutchison wide. And we can see Steele there just kind of saying, hey, what's up? Don't hurt me. And luckily that was the case.
Yeah, that was definitely a rough entry for a number of guys. And as you pointed out, Van de Sant also had a bad stop. I think that kind of comes back to the fact that we've not had any green flag stops coming up to this race or this stint. So a little bit unprepared, unpracticed, and we saw the result of that. Out on track, the drivers who have not pitted yet, we got Blake Giglio, Michael Christopher, and Damaris Hickenbottom on the podium as they run. And again, that really could be where he cycles out on the podium, because most everybody who just pitted right there, they lost significant time. If this pack right here nails their pit stop when and if they make it, oh man, there we go. The 16 and the 70 coming down pit road, and Damaris Hickenbottom is going to lead with 12 to go.
Yep, pit stops there. And I do want to point out as well, the lap times up front were about in the 6s and the 7s, and Matt White running about flats. So about 7-ish, 8-ish tenths a lap. That Matt White has been faster than those who have stayed on the racetrack. So we would have to imagine that our top 4 will be on pit road within 3 to 5 laps. Based on what we've seen, that is the absolute maximum. But you know, never know if a caution is going to come out, and if it does, that could change everything. But right now, only 4 cars on the lead lap.
Damaris Hickenbottom holding on to the lead. The next car back for position is Dustin Hall. He's half a second back. 2 cars separate these guys, and they, again, still have yet to pit. So the question is, when do they pit, and are they actually going to be crazy enough to try to save? We have a yellow flag on the circuit.
JC Gibson. Now, the biggest thing, we have to remember, these guys have to make it to the green flag or the pit entry. So if they're that close on field, they better be cutting the engine. But we'll try to cue up what happened to Gibson. I think it was a pit exit issue.
Oh.
Yep. There's a bunch of different There's a bunch of different angles and banking transitions there on the flat, and unfortunately for Gibson, he just caught one of them wrong, and then unfortunately for a few other drivers, they had nowhere to go. But as the old saying is, Andre, this changes everything.
You can see
and Hickenbottom overshoots his pit stall.
Everything that he could to try to avoid that, and just nowhere to really go.
Damaris Hickenbottom has absolutely, he's still, it probably took about 7 seconds to get in his pit stall there. So luckily for him, there's not many guys on the lead lap, but terrible pit entry there.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to lose. Like you said, only 4 cars able to come down pit road this time. So at most he could lose 3 positions, but not a point in the race where you want to be making too many mistakes. Now the good news is some of these drivers who pitted just moments ago are able to get a wave around. So Benefiel, Giglio, RJ Root, these guys I believe should be getting the wave around, and they will be on the lead lap if timing and scoring is to be believed. So it's kind of got these guys back in the game, and we're going to have a late race restart, under 10 to go. Everything on the line for you. What are your predictions here?
Well, I am really still thinking that these top 4 are going to be all set, because we've been hearing how important tire wear is, Andre, and I'm looking at our back-end telemetry that we have available to us, and many of our top hitters on that last run took 2 tires. You can tell by the telemetry only about 5 to 8 second stops, so either a splash or 2. So that means they have old left sides, potentially old, all 4 tires that are old. So having 4 freshies up front in these last few laps where you're going to need that agility to make these runs, that's really going to give the advantage to these guys who just pitted or any of the guys who took 4 tires on their initial pit stops.
That is true. Some of these guys, though, they're going to be close enough on tire wear that I think it's going to be comparable. I mean, if you look at Giglio and Michael Christopher, these guys literally just pitted when the caution came out. So at most, they've got a lap, maybe a lap and a half on those tires. So some of these guys should still be competitive. These other guys who came down pit road maybe up to 10 laps ago, yeah, they're going to be the ones that are hurting the most. So we'll have to wait and see. But what an interesting top 10 we've got here. Corey, Dustin Hall, Cody Bird, Damaris Hickenbottom, Kyle Ammon, who, by the way, T-boned a wrecking car not long ago. He's back inside the top 5. Adam Benefield, who's had the most up and down night I think I've ever seen in the entire history of my commentating for this simulator. We've got Blake Giglio, P6, RJ Root after everything. I mean, he knows it into the inside wall so hard, I'm pretty sure he got whiplash. He's inside the top 10. Alex Vandesant, who's been dominant all night, he slipped back to 8. Man, what a running order.
Yeah, definitely that is the case, Andre. This is just absolutely gone bonkers. And right now at 8 to go, lights are out, but look at how many of these guys are having to wait for a wave around now. I'm not sure if they're going to delay this and let everyone catch up, but so far, it looks like we're going green.
It looks like that may be the case. Let's keep an eye on the simulator. JC Gibson is officially out of this session. That's the only thing that the server is telling us, and we are going to go green this time. Dustin Hall, Cody Bird on the front row, and it looks like right at the end of the restart zone, Dustin Hall is going to get on the loud pedal. No wheel spin out of him. Cody Bird doesn't get any wheel spin either, just a little bit more lax on the restart. So we're going to go side by side for second.
That's going to be terrible for Hall. That's going to be terrible. I think Bird, he was maybe a little close to jumping it there. I think he backed off last second, and that's going to give Hickenbottom an absolute gargantuan run with that huge push from Ammon. Is he going to be able to utilize it properly?
We're going to have to wait and see, because you're right. It's going to be a hellacious run from these guys. But can they take it anywhere? Damaris Hickenbottom to the bumper of the number 1. He looks high. He looks low. There's nowhere to go right now. Coming into turn 1, he's going to stay right with the number 1. Now, you see this all the time, Corey, at these plate races. These drivers tend to be pretty patient because nobody wants to be the guy that makes the move too early. If you take the lead with 2 to go, that just means there's 2 laps for somebody to pass you back. These guys want to make the move at the last possible second, but that comes with a caveat of sometimes you make the move too late and you can't get to the guy before you reach the checkered flag. So when do you think these guys are going to make the move?
I think you have to make it pretty quick because you don't want to make a last lap move. I saw it in the NASCAR Xfinity race here today that you didn't have the opportunity to make that last lap move. There wasn't enough time to get everything coordinated. We did have reports of a car being off track, a 26 machine in the grass, but so far so good. We'll see if it stays as such coming through the tri-oval, the quad oval, what have you, but coming to 4 laps to go. We still have the Hall up front, Hickenbottom in second. Is there any team connections? Is there anybody who wants to be on the good side of the admin and help him to the win? All these questions to be answered in 4 laps.
In 4 laps, indeed. It is a lot of questions to be answered here. Top of the screen, that is some battling a little bit further back. They're going 3 wide position back there. Kevin Steele kind of spearheading that group alongside Michael Christopher. Dalton Mobley trapped in the middle of a very scary situation. That's just behind our lead pack there. But on the bottom of the screen, that is the battle for the lead, and it looks like Adam Benefield is going to make a move on Kyle Ammon down low. That's going to put them up into 3rd. So he has finally stepped back onto the podium, and Dustin Hall continuing to lead the way with 3 to go. Kamara sandwiched between 2 former teammates. Dustin Hall was teammates in the lead with Adam Benefield, but then to make room for Michael Conti and a few other Coke Series drivers, Dustin Hall moved to his own team. And we have a caution on the track. It's Chad Edwards.
That will cause a green-white checker overtime finish.
Oh boy.
As we have another caution here, as we were just trying to figure out if what was going to happen up front, queuing up a replay on screen right now. 4 of Edwards got turned, and some agricultural work there. The Fago car into the wall. Got a better shot of it here on screen.
Let's see exactly what happened here, because it looks like Wayne Grassy just...
in defense, and that just kind of wadded everything up.
Yeah, that wasn't really Wayne Grassy's fault. That was just an accordion effect. Van de Sant caught that super glue wall, as we've kind of been referring to it. And unfortunately, Chad Edwards catching the worst of it, and 7 getting some damage as well. Oh, man. This is going to be quite a restart. You got to think, Corey, look at the drivers in the top 3 right now. You've got so many drivers who've never won. You've got Damaris Hickenbottom. You've got Kyle Ammon, Cody Bird. These drivers have yet to get a win. Cody Bird has yet to get a top 5 in the league, and currently he sits 5th. There is so much on the line for these guys. I mean, I'm getting nervous for them up in the booth. I can't imagine what's going through their mind in the car right now.
There's a different dynamic. There's going to be, from a drafting perspective, as Hall has come to the pits. I don't know if he didn't maybe take enough fuel last time or wasn't prepared for a green-white checker, but that is going to give the lead to Hickenbottom now. So very interesting dynamic there. My pure guess, Andre, is that some of these guys took such finite amounts of fuel to get to the scheduled finish that they were not ready for overtime.
They needed another splash. I think that's the case. Dustin Hall, if you saw his pit stop right there on screen, he only stopped for a second, and then he pulled right back out. You are absolutely correct, Corey. It was a splash and go for these guys.
And another dynamic we'll have different on this restart. The last restart, we had 4 guys, lead lap drivers side by side. Everybody else was catching up single file via the wave around. This time by, we have everybody in their normal double file formation. That's going to create more runs, more energy, more bumping, more pushing, more shenanigans. So this restart, on top of being a green-white checker overtime finish, should just be more naturally chaotic. We're going to have more guys in the bunch right off the bat.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be chaos, for a lack of better words. Look at Kevin Steele also just getting back inside the top 5. He kind of lost the lead pack earlier, and now he's right back in it. It's anybody's game. Dalton Mobley, that's another driver who has yet to get a top 5 in this league, just like Cody Bird. There's so many drivers up here that are racing for so much. And then you've got Adam Benefield, who has numerous wins and a championship in the league. You've got Dustin Hall in 8th. He's got wins in the league as well. These guys, they've got their wins, but they're still not going to make it easy on these guys. They're going to do everything they can to charge through this field regardless.
And this comes a very difficult situation, Andre. If you're already having a career day, naturally you want to win. But you don't want to throw away a career day by making a move or a block that's overly aggressive and then completely making it for naught. That's a very fine balance that a lot of these guys, Hickenbottom, Bird, and company, are going to be facing right now.
Oh, absolutely. It's risk versus reward. It's, do I want to say that I'm comfortable with this top 5 and take it? Do I want to fold, or do I want to go for it? And I think for a lot of these guys, the answer is that they're going to go for it. Now, interesting to note, Damaris Hickenbottom has chosen the high line for this restart. Most of the time, the leader, actually I think every single restart so far, the leader has taken the bottom. So this is a change up, and I'm not sure if Damaris just has more faith in some of those drivers up top or thinks that he's going to get a better run. Time will tell. Pace car is about to make the left-hander for possibly the final time tonight, although we do get 3 attempts at the green-white checker if you need them. This is attempt number 1. Damaris Hickenbottom heading towards that restart zone. I'm sure time is moving in slow motion for a lot of these guys up front. Damaris wastes no time, gets an amazing jump, but is it too good of a jump, Corey?
That's definitely too amazing. If there's one style of track you don't want to have a lead, it's here. And he is going to have a fair amount of momentum to do something with, as here comes Benefield with a head of steam. Is he going to block it? Is Benefield just going to ride with him? For the time being, Benefield's going to ride with him.
He's going to give him one heck of a shot, but look up top. Dalton Mobley making a move. The 64, I believe that's Sammy Borey. He is spinning down the inside, but no caution yet. They're off the racing surface, coming to the white flag. If they get there, the race will be official.
Did we get there? Did we get there?
Oh my goodness, we got a wreck.
We didn't get there. We didn't get there.
Cody Bird involved. No. Oh my goodness.
I don't know when that caution flew, but it was within, that was kind of a Ryan Blaney All-Star-esque. That was right before, as close as you can get. We'll rack them, stack them, and do it again.
Oh my goodness, that is heartbreaking for these guys. Let's go to the replay. See exactly what transpired here. I think it started in the high lane. Cody Bird gave Dalton Mobley a pretty good shot, and it was just a massive, I mean, that was like a popcorn maker. Cars just flew everywhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out now. I'm trying to find caution lights here at Atlanta to try to figure out when that caution actually did fly. And just I can't find the night lights. Cue
Cody
Carlos.
Bird almost up and over with that impact. He just about flipped it, but he was able to get it back down on all fours.
Apparently the caution lights. Oh! Actually, are we gonna call iRacing faux pas here? iRacing might just be conspiracizing with this, for lack of a better word. Because I'm looking at what we have for telemetry here, and what I'm looking at on the back end, I know you can't see this, Carlos, but on the back end, the caution came out after the white flag. The actual caution lights changed after the white flag, but it doesn't matter because that's what we're going for right now.
And that is kind of an unfortunate thing about iRacing's, I don't know if you would consider that net code or what it would be, but iRacing does tend to be extremely delayed. And they tend to go back a little bit too far as to when cautions are called, where you were on track. Sometimes I've had situations where I pass a car and I'm 2 car lengths ahead of them, and then the yellow flag comes out and it says, well, you need to let that car go because you passed them under yellow. And that just wasn't the case. You can see right there, there's the white flag. Green light is still on, Corey. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So if we were playing this by real life rules, Damaris Hickenbottom just win this race. But
unfortunately, by real life rules, yes. By iRacing rules, we would have ran back. We would have ran back and finished that last lap. But he was approximately, I'd say, 50 to 100 feet past start finish when the official caution lights on the side of the speedway did change over. Now, again, doesn't matter in practicality, but just for the sake of argument, and that's what happened. But
yeah, our producer just pointed out, I think there's a protest for iRacing coming.
Yeah, so that's something that we can do a replay. You can see the caution lights, that they are tied to the triggers that are within the sim with the telemetry and such. So theoretically, once the caution does trigger in the sim, the lights are supposed to change at the same time, and you can kind of mix and match that in free cam mode. And whether that works out favorably or not, I don't know, but it did seem as such that Benefiel is going full, I'm going to make the 0-0 win this race mode, Andre, and we'll see if that carries over on the second attempt.
Absolutely, but you've also got Kyle Ammon and Matt White, who are going to be extremely hungry for a win behind them. So even if Benefiel says, hey, I've got enough wins, I'm going to help the 0-0 to win here, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy at all. So, oh boy, what a
for
restart.
all we know, Matt White's going to blink his way across the line and win the race. Disappeared. I mean, who knows? But here's what we're going to find out here coming off turn number 4. Andre, I'll let you get it going for a green-white checker restart.
Would not be the first time I've seen somebody pull to a victory. I might have done so myself a time or two. But we'll see exactly how this goes. Looks like the 83's lagging back a little bit as the pace car makes that left-hand turn. This is attempt number 2 out of 3 for the green-white checkered. Inside the restart zone, Damaris again with a good jump. We're seeing practically a mirror image of what we saw in the initial green-white checkered. We got the 83 behind in contact. Matt White has spun him. They are wrecking everywhere behind. The 29 is involved. Looks like maybe...
Is this our third attempt?
16.
This is going to be our third. So we've just completed our second attempt, so we're going to try one more.
This is going to be our final attempt at it. But just to confirm, it was the number number is this? Number 56, Jeffrey Souza, involved in that. I believe Brandon Pierce might have also been caught up in that. Heavy damage for Adam Benefiel.
Unfortunately for Damaris, for Hickenbottom, he lost his, I mean, do I want to get grim? It's almost like the 01 Daytona 500. Dale he was protecting, and it backfired. Now, he lost his protector because the 83 was the one that was helping him win. At least it seemed it anyways.
You know, I need to see another angle of that, I think. I need to see the onboard from the 48, because I feel like he might have come down a little bit too far there. I don't think that was really on Benefiel.
No, I just definitely think he tried clearing himself and just missed it by all of 3 inches.
Well, let's be fair to both of them. One was moving up, one was moving down. That was kind of a racing deal.
It's a racing deal nonetheless, but if I had to put blame on it, I would put it on White. But that's if you absolutely said you have to make a call, but it was just ultimately a racing deal.
Yeah, and I mean, remember, this is a green-white checkered at the end of a long race. These guys are gonna be aggressive. You just have to kind of expect that. And again, one guy coming up, one guy coming down, and Damaris has lost the draft partner. He's got Kyle Ammon behind him. Ward in the 67. What a story that would be if he won and then immediately got a penalty for running the incorrect paint scheme. That would be something. Cameron Stone in 4th. Where the heck did he come from?
I don't, but yeah, that definitely there'd be some tomatoes thrown in victory lane for the Tomato of the Race award. But if he gets him the victory, maybe he'll take the penalty week after week. I'm not sure if it builds cumulatively, but we'll see what does happen. But again, Hickenbottom, time over time, he's been doing those super early jumps, and like I said, he had Benefiel as his partner essentially. Now he's lost it. Does he need to have a more conservative restart and not get a big jump, knowing that he's going to have to probably fend this by himself now?
Yeah, it's not a good feeling to be completely on your own and to not really have any draft partners. It's also probably not a good feeling for Damaris that Cameron Stone's going to be on row 2 for this restart, because Damaris and Cameron, off track, I think they get along pretty well. On track, they've had a bit of a history, and I don't think Cam is going to cut Damaris any slack at all. So it's pretty tough competition. And again, Kyle Ammon going for his first win, just like Damaris is. He's, of course, going to do everything in his power to get this win as the lights go off on the pace car, and it's going to be one pace lap around before we get back going green. And I'll tell you what, Corey, this is probably going to be the longest pace lap in the world for both these guys on the front row.
Yeah, I kind of understood it on the last restart. I seriously am nervous for him taking Damaris taking that outside. I do think, based on what we've seen thus far, if you can hook the line on the bottom, I think in a 2-lap shootout you're probably going to be okay. He's really going to be putting a lot of emphasis on his restart here to ensure that he clears Ammon, because if he doesn't, that's pretty much game over. But as you said, how big of a push is the 57 going to give if there is some long-term turmoil between the two of them? So all that will have to get sorted. You can see there's not really many cars behind the pace car right now. Attrition has taken over through the last 15 or so laps with these overtimes. But this is what we got, and we're going to try it for the final time. If a caution does come out before we take the white, the race will end with that current running order.
So the pace car just a few moments away from taking the absolute for certain final left turn of the race. And Kyle Ammon lagging behind Damaris Hickenbottom here. The number 1 on his bumper, getting a little bit impatient. There it goes into pit road for the last time. And Damaris Hickenbottom is going to creep into this restart zone. And does he do the same thing he did before? Yes,
he does.
As soon as he gets into the restart zone. And it's going to be a good jump now. He's got to block 2 lanes of traffic. Lap 271 of 272. So the white flag next time by, should we make it that far. They're going to be single file for the top 3, but Cameron Stone trapped all on his own on the high line. Kyle Ammon getting a huge run out of the corner. Where does he take it?
I'll tell you, Ammon was very, very gentlemanlike there. He had the run off of 2, but didn't want to do the bump draft, so he backed off and kind of killed his run. in order to get to the back straightaway without contact. That may or may not be his detriment there, but coming off a 4, I'll tell you, Damaris is leaving a lot of real estate open on the bottom of the racetrack. We'll see if it comes into be his demise, but on the white flag lap.
Behind him, they are racing for position. I don't think anybody from third on back is going to be able to get up there and make a move for it. Cameron Stone gets a bad bump draft. He's into the wall. They are wrecking behind them. Green flag still in the air.
Incident points got taken out there by somebody, but here we come for the final time through 3 and 4. Ammon looking high, Ammon looking low. Here comes Giglio with a push here off of 4 to the line, and Damaris Hickenbottom wins at Atlanta.
And they were bumper to bumper, pushing each other. Completely just chaos in that last lap, and Damaris holds on, keeps a level head, puts these guys in his rearview mirror, never looks back. Damaris Hickenbottom takes the first win of his 100% Cup Series career here at Atlanta. What a drive by Damaris.
I want to know everybody who submitted their pre-race picks in. I want to know how many people had the 00 winning this race. Probably all of them, right?
Yeah, totally. What do you mean? I wrote him down as my pick already. Yeah.
Exactly. We definitely saw on that back straightaway wreck, there was some incident point demises there. Some guys had some blink out issues, but the burnouts here at Atlanta, at New Atlanta, I think of anybody in the race who likes this configuration, it's going to be that 00 doing his burnouts here and celebrating win number 1 in his 100% career league admin, Damaris Hickenbottom.
Man, oh man, that's got to be just pure happiness behind the wheel to get that win and to not only win this race once, but as far as I'm concerned, he won this race twice. He should have had it with that first green white checkered. He made it to the line, and the green flag was still out. And then even through the next 2 restarts, the next 2 green white checkers, he kept a level head. He did exactly what he needed to do. He fended off some fierce competition, and now he gets to do a Polish victory lap.
Yeah, I guess by no means was it given to him. I mean, we questioned his restarts. We questioned what he was doing many times, and he made us wrong. And that's the best thing you want to do is you want to prove everybody wrong, and you want to do what you know is the best thing. Is he's going to do the Polish victory lap, and we have our results on screen.
Final results of the race. Damaris Hickenbottom taking win number 1 of his career in the 00, right ahead of Kyle Ammon with an impressive run in P2. Blake Giglio just barely on the podium there in 3rd. Sammy Borey comes back from a little bit of trouble late in that race and finishes 4th. Sean O'Brien Jr. with his mug moment of the race coming in P5. Jeffrey Souza 6th. He got involved in a few incidents there and got back inside the top 10. Chris Claude 7th. Cameron Stone 8th. Josh Ward 9th. Robert Anderson rounds out your top 10.
And 11th, Alex Princeton. He had an up and down day, as I think most of them had. Chad Sander with 12th. Wayne Grassi, a quiet run in 13th. Tanner Marty, kind of running in that same area all race, 14th. Adam Benefield, up and down race all day. Fortunately, drops down to a 15th. Matt White had his connectivity issues, led a lot of laps, 16th. Ralph Hutchison and Dustin Hall had their issues, 17th and 18th. And Michael Christopher and RJ Root rounding out your top 20.
And just outside the top 20, looking a little bit further back, if our graphics scrolls there, we've got Dalton Mobley in the 77, Raymond Root, Kevin Steele, Alex Van de Sant, Chad Edwards, Preston McRae, Bryson Alexander, JC Gibson. And once the graphics scrolls just another time, we're going to get the final few drivers here. It looks like Devin Medeiros, Bryson Nixon Bob, Brandon Pierce, Patrick Mouchet, Jason Taylor, Rob Tracy, Jeremy Miller, Randy Drumhiller, Nolan Hodgson, and Neil Pearson rounding out the field in 38th, 244 laps back. With that out of the way, we got some interviews waiting for us. Let's go ahead and start with 3rd place Blake Giglio. You got a copy, Blake?
Yeah, how's it going?
Well, Blake, you had a really good run all night long. It's another good points day and a long string of good points days. And that last lap was a little bit chaotic. You gave a bit of a bump draft to Cam, and things went a bit sideways. Walk me through the end of this race.
Talk about getting screwed over by strategy again. before we go on to the last lap. That sucked, man. That yellow, I think we had it if that yellow didn't come out. But it was fun, good racing at the end. I think the first restart, I got up there, helped a little bit. They racked me to the line. I think I started 5th. And then Matt took out Benefield. That I don't know if that happened, but I saw them two get together, and I tried to avoid it going low and went off the nose of. I lost. I don't really know who I went off the nose. I think it might have been Kyle actually. And then after that, we got a jump there, and I was trying to get Cameron up there, and I think he would have got up there, but I got him in the rear a little bit too much and some sideways, and then we were just beating Thunder from there. But shout out to the refs for getting the win.
Absolutely. Well, it was the first time on iRacing here at New Atlanta, so kind of a different experience for all of you guys. I just got to ask, what are some of your general impressions after running that race?
Yeah, I think it was good, having our plate racing schedule. I think it's a talent in its own. People just think it's luck, but I see the same people up there at the front every single week, every single time we run at one of these. So that, and I like that the tires were a thing. But other than that, I think overall it's a good track.
All right. Well, before we let you go there, Blake, is there any shout-outs you'd like to make?
Yeah, you guys for broadcasting 100% Cup Series itself, Low Drag Esports, LMM, CC Racing, EPI, just everyone that goes on there and gets us going.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Blake, and again, congratulations.
Yep, thank you.
All right. Now, I believe Corey has caught up to second place, Kyle Ammon.
All right, Kyle, great second place run. First off, hats off, man, because you were up there the entire race and really showed some serious speed here at Atlanta. And we're waiting to see if you were going to be able to do anything with Damaris at the end, but he just had enough to hang on. Just talk about your race, Ben, and especially what you were thinking on those last few restarts.
Yeah, car was super fast. I got to thank Dustin and Adam. They helped me out a lot this week. So yeah, I just stayed off strategy, I think, most of the race, and I don't know if it helped out or not, but it worked. But on that one restart when everybody got jumbled up, I harpooned the 10 in the right or the left rear, and I think I had a little nose damage, so I wasn't too sure if I could get out and lead. And I felt it was best to save position and stick behind the 00.
Yeah, and well, it's either way, still a second place for you, which is good. But coming into this week, and everyone in every league I've talked to is dreading this race. I want Old Atlanta, and everyone it seemed like a plate race, but handling at least seemed to come way more into effect. And we expected in all of our interviews, handling was a lot more important than initially thought. Was that the case for you over the course of the race? And obviously you had a good car, but were there any challenges at all with that?
Yeah, handling definitely came in. It seemed to have fall off about 15 to 20 laps into the run, and then from 20 to about 40, it was starting to loosen up just a little bit, and then after that, it kind of tightened back up, and it was pretty good. But yeah, you had to lift and play with the throttle. It was kind of like the old 550 horsepower package where you kind of had to play with it, and it was kind of fun. And I enjoyed it. It was a good race. I liked it. Not so much like the Old Atlanta, but it was good.
Yeah, well, it's good to hear that. One more quick one for you. We head to Loudon next week. What are your thoughts on another good run there?
We'll give it a best shot, but I'm going to enjoy this one for a little bit, and then we'll start worrying about Loudon.
All right, man. Any shout-outs, anything you want to give for your good run here tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to thank EPI and Dustin and Adam, Days Gone By Vintage Apparel, and everybody that helps us out.
All right, congrats again, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
All right, second place, Kyle Ammon out of the booth. And now, I've waited a while to say this. Let's talk to our race winner, Damaris Hickenbottom. You got a copy, Damaris?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, Damaris, you are walking away from Atlanta with a 100% Cup Series win. How you feeling, man?
Ah, man, this is a good one here. Yeah, I never thought this would ever happen. Definitely not the type to be a favorite. As I tell all the guys, I'm pretty good at this, but hell, man, right place, right time. Had all my teammates around me, and they really got me to the finish there. So this was pretty sweet. Obviously got Jimmy Strong on the car, so doing this for Coben and his family. But yeah, man, this feels good.
Well, you say right place, right time, but I think you're kind of discrediting yourself there a little bit. You had to win this race not once, but twice. That first green-white checker, you had actually taken the white flag, and the simulator deemed it. Well, no, you weren't 100 feet past the flag. No, we're going to do another green-white checkered. And then you had to fend off some really fierce competition 2 more times, but through it all, you kept a really level head, and you put him in your rearview mirror. What what was the emotion like behind the wheel when that caution came out and you knew that you had to try to do it all over again?
Honestly, man, it's pretty even killed. If you want to, man, I think Adam was all hopped up, man. He might want to check his heart rate. I thought the guy was gonna have a heart attack. He was so excited for me, but nah, I mean, looking in the relative, I mean, that first go round, I saw who we had behind us, and again, had my team around me, so we pretty confident about that. But slowly but surely, as teammates got peeled off, it got a little more and more hairy, and then that last go round, seeing Cam and Blake in the mirror, I got a little nervous. But again, in the end, we got me and Kyle got hooked up and drove away from him, man. Got it done.
So Damaris, you are going to the playoffs this year. How do you feel about that? Are there any races in the playoffs that you're really looking forward to?
Well, not so fast. I think I got to got some stage points tonight. Obviously, the win will throw me up in the standings. I think I still might be out of top 25 or so. So I'll have to look at that. Definitely puts us in a good position, though. I think that's everybody on Team Conti with a win too. So again, shout out to the boys. It gave me an awesome setup, man. I mean, Dustin and the guys working on this and gave me a rocket ship to work with. So yeah, man. Hopefully we can activate playoff D and make a run if we can get there. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, Corey, do you have any questions or anything for Damaris?
Not any questions, but just congrats, man. I know it's been a long time coming. You've been working for it, and good to see you have a solid run.
Yeah, man. Anytime you can beat Cam, it's a good time. So definitely going to savor this one.
Now, I also got to ask, Damaris, does this mean that the camera curse is broken? Because I mean, you were on the camera for quite a while tonight, and you still got the win.
Maybe so, man. But just in case, just use it sparingly on me, man.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on the win. Is there any shout outs you'd like to make?
Yeah, man. I mean, on the team again, Team Conti, Dustin, Adam. Again, shout out to Kyle, man, for working with me there. Again, obviously, Jimmy Strong, Callie and the whole family there. It's good to win with Jimmy Strong on the car. Didn't have a soda, so just kept the same old paint. Shout out to me for being awesome. No one could do this but me. To quote the great philosopher, I wake up in the morning to piss excellence.
There you go.
But that's all I got, guys.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, Damaris. We're going to let you go celebrate, and I'm thinking it's going to be one heck of a celebration.
Oh, yeah, man. The blue moon's already flowing, boys. Appreciate you.
All right. Well, we'll catch you later, Damaris. Race winner out of the booth, and man, oh man, and it's a good thing that there is no 100% official betting with Vegas odds, because I think that there'd probably be somebody that we'd owe a lot of money to if they put any money on Damaris.
Yeah, there's one guy every race that puts Cody Ware as the winner of the race, but for that guy, he won $1 million here today. But great job seeing Damaris in all seriousness. He does so much for the league and behind the scenes that nobody really sees, and here he is as a driver getting his time in the limelight, and definitely fun to watch, and a good spin on the new Atlanta Motor Speedway that not a lot of people liked, but all in all we saw a really good exciting show here today.
It was an absolute blast. I gotta admit, being a little bit skeptical about the new Atlanta and a little bit salty that they repaved one of my favorite tracks. I think this exciting race kind of helps put a Band-Aid on that wound, and I couldn't be happier to see Damaris grab a win. Like you said, he does so much for the league, puts in so much time. I mean, it's not his full-time job. This is a guy who has a life and a job outside of the sim, and yet he still allocates an absurd amount of time to making sure that things in this league flow well and that everything works the way that it should, alongside Kevin Steele as well. So if anybody earned it, it's definitely him, and it was a fun race for sure. That is basically going to do it for our post-race coverage here at Atlanta. I'm Andre Grambush, again, joined alongside Corey Silva, and of course, producer Carlos Acosta, pushing the buttons, bringing all the action to your TVs and computers. And we will catch you next week for the 100% Cup Series.